You are listening to The Robert Scott Bell Show.
These days, it's more important than ever to know where our food and supplements come from. That's why, at Plus CBD Oil, we believe it is critical to manage every step of the supply chain process. It all starts with certified hemp seeds. Our hemp grows tall, like bamboo, and is harvested within 3 months. After harvest, the hemp is dried and sent to our CO2 extraction facility, where our raw formula is extracted. The extracted oil is then lawfully imported to our state-of-the-art in-house laboratory in San Diego, California. There, we convert our raw formula into our total plant complex and gold formula oils. Our oils are then used to formulate our award-winning Plus CBD oil product line. The products are then tested for cannabinoid content and the absence of harmful substances. But we go one step further. We then send our products to a third-party laboratory to verify concentration, quality, and safety. After that, the products have finished their journey and are ready to be shipped to your local health food store. Because at Plus CBD Oil, we believe how you do anything is how you do everything. That's why, from seed to shelf, we are committed to providing safe and effective hemp CBD products for you and your loved ones. It's our promise to you. Learn more about our commitment to full traceability at pluscbdoil.com.
The Robert Scott Bell Show.
I listen to get accurate, up-to-date information.
I've learned so much from him.
It is awesome. It's the best entertainment that I've found.
You rock the health world. Keep it up. I love you.
Now, the voice of health, freedom, and liberty, here's Robert Scott Bell.
All right, y'all. The United States and perhaps world of health talk radio and media is on. And when I say it that way, I don't mean, global governance. That's not what I indicate. It just means the reach. It's our ability to reach you wherever you are around planet Earth while we can with this message of health, freedom, and healing liberty. And we're going to continue doing that today. You're our guest. Super Don's barely here today. So it's you and me and a little bit of Super D. And whatever else you got commenting, we'll hopefully be able to monitor the feeds through the next couple hours plus. And, a big thing on my mind, probably on yours too, is censorship. We've been dealing with it. We've been talking about it for a long time, perhaps even years here. The limited reach, or the reach limiters, if you will, the governors on our engines. Right, if you were to go to an amusement park way back when you could go to amusement parks and be in line, right, and one sweaty person on top of another, Disney or whatever, they would have these like maybe race cars you could ride, but there was a governor on the engine. It would limit the speed. And obviously you're not free to go any speed you want. I remember just this flashback to memory going to Six Flags years ago with my friends from elementary or high school. We were bad teenagers, not so bad, but and one of the guys like would reach in. They were called the Hanson cars. Y'all, anybody remember that? This is a weird memory. Just did not plan on talking about this. But while we were on the ride, he was in one of those cars, opened up the hood, reached around and released the governor and started zooming around the track. Of course, he got yelled at. He might have got even thrown out of the park at the time. I don't know. But your overlords don't like it when you remove the governor on their limitations. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about how or why censorship is happening. We've talked about the plausible deniability of, it's not the government doing it, it's YouTube or it's Facebook or it's Instagram or whatever. And yet the question is, well, why would their policies limit certain things from being communicated? Like, let's just say stuff from doctors, medical doctors, licensed medical doctors, in fact. How about that couple of docs from the ER centers in Kern County in California? You wouldn't think they would censor them. I mean, they're just doctors, medical doctors, talking about what they're experiencing on the ground level in their emergency centers. Well, they apparently appeared on Laura Ingram's show on Fox News. And between the time they started the interview and later on in the show, you'll never believe what happened.
Huge reaction to the two docs we had on at the top of the show, Dan Erickson and Artan Masihi. Well, YouTube just took down their viral video challenging the COVID narrative when it comes to, what's happening in California especially. Ironically, this is exactly what they warned about, that this isn't about science, this is about control. And in this case, control of a narrative. We should have seen it coming. YouTube CEO was on CNN 8 days ago saying, quote, anything that would go against World Health Organization recommendations would be a violation of our policy. Removal is another really important part of our policy. Well, if you aren't worried about censorship in this country, you better be now. It's not the government doing it, but something that controls so much of the dialogue. Is fairly close to the kind of censorship I never thought we'd see in this country. That is truly terrifying. Shannon Bream and the Fox News at Night team have all the latest, and they take it.
That's because Laura Ingraham, like many of our news babes, are ignorant of how censorship occurs in modern America via international organizations and our relationship to them, international treaties. And I've referenced this many times over the years, and I think it goes over most of your heads. And this is not a slight on any of y'all. It's just we have been programmed not to look at the most fundamental flaw, perhaps, if not in our own Constitution, certainly an oversight to defend it. We have been living under socialist, communist, kind of international globalist edicts since at least, the 1940s. Why do I say that? Because right now I'm not going back to the New Deal and FDR and the bankruptcy at 1933 at the moment. I'm going into the UN Charter, the United Nations. When we became treaty to its creation and would have to via international treaty, which the Constitution allows for treaties to be made, but my last reading of it was treaties made in pursuance of or with the Constitution. If you align with an international treaty and one of those, let's say, core tenets of whatever is in that treaty violates the Constitution, it should be, by definition, null and void, but that's not the way we play it. Whether it be World Trade Organizations, GATT treaties, environmental treaties, trade treaties, you name it. But in this case, we're talking about initially the United Nations and then the World Health Organization, which came a few years after, which is, of course, demon spawn of the United Nations. And so everything made since that point in time is intertwined into language that most people would dare never look. And I know I risk losing you all, putting you to sleep right now, but I insist, I have to at least get this off of my chest. Bear with me for a moment, because y'all are scratching your head and going, hey, how can they ban YouTube? How can they ban two physicians, duly licensed, medical doctors who are reporting on what they are seeing on the ground via the tests that are being promoted globally, nationally, federally, etc., but coming to broadly different conclusions, specifically different conclusions, that don't fall in line with permanent lockdowns or lockdowns at all, that don't fall in line with masking everybody, that recognize the health of healthy people depends on interactivity with one another. Why would YouTube ban them? I mean, you could sort of understand if this renegade homeopathic radio host media guy like me, RSB, says stuff like this, although my reach is still limited but growing. But to wipe out the relative reality or the actual video, and this was originally, it was broadcast on a mainstream television station. It was the NBC affiliate out there in Kern County, somewhere in Bakersfield or whatever it was. I can't remember exactly. And then reported at national or federal levels. Obviously, the video went viral on YouTube and elsewhere. That it got pulled from YouTube for violating its what policies, what provisions, what standards. And you have to ask that. If the standard is to ban medical doctors who are licensed speaking about their experience clinically in their ER room, in their emergency doc-in-the-box offices, buildings, you got to ask, who would put that kind of policy into play? And then we come back out to the global level and we see Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation privately funding, if you will, the WHO when Trump temporarily calls a halt to the funding. And listen, as much as I'd love to think Trump is going to pull out of the UN and WHO, I'm not delusional. Because he, as president of the, do I say de jure at this point or de facto United States, the bankrupt United States? There are pretty specific guidelines for those in bankruptcy. And they got to follow rules even if they don't like them. And so he is bound as chief executive officer. You might not call him commander in chief, but he hasn't declared war on the UN or the WHO. He just simply says, we're going to withhold funds until we can assess what went on. And anybody who's read or looked into the United Nations knows that they are largely collectivist, communist, in support of communist-type dictatorship governments, China inclusive, and been very, let's say, harsh towards any country that doesn't ascribe to those ideals, if you can call them ideals. And so if Trump is to withhold funds, he's going to be hammered. The United States is going to be hammered with all kinds of fines and everything if we do not release those funds eventually. Unless we, as he has the authority, as far as I know, as chief executive, to pull out of those treaties. Like he pulled out of the treaty or whatever was signed with Iran or different trade treaties like NAFTA and said it's just not good. So, I mean, he has the capacity to do so, but would he survive it? I don't have the answer to that. But I just want to let you know that the thing that nobody that I know of is talking about are these international treaties that obligate the United States to do things that violate the Constitution, to do things that violate defense of fundamental liberties, freedom to communicate truthfully, not misleading. There was no fraud involved in what these doctors were saying or doing. I mean, there's an article about the banning of these guys. YouTube censors viral video of doctors criticizing stay-at-home order. They were deleted after racking up over 5 million views. Now, why? Again, you ask why. Very popular medical doctors, and they say there's a 0.3 chance of dying from COVID, and it might be 0.1. But they ask great questions. As I said, I wanted to hug them. And again, I don't agree with everything they do or say, but still, it was refreshing to see doctors communicating straight from the hip, but not the hip, because I think they were very well measured in their delivery and what they were going to communicate. And they acknowledged the CDC pressuring COVID diagnosis, much less COVID death certificates. We've talked about the conflicts of economic interest in hospitals that are losing money hand over fist because they've shut down all the elective procedures. People are afraid to go to hospitals because of COVID. And ERs are sitting empty or near empty. So why would they do this? Earlier this month, YouTube CEO Susan Wojcicki, what's her name? I can't even pronounce it, told CNN that the company would ban any video content that contradicted. See, now we're getting somewhere, y'all. Folks, I'm making my points here, and I am, again, validated. Not that I need this to be validated, but it's just if it helps you to see what I'm saying, to link it to, it says that any video content that contradicted World Health Organization recommendations. Really? What are we left with? I mean, where else would this come from? Why would YouTube, now a global corporation, clearly with no allegiance to any nation or state, bought the state of the WHO and UN, be the censorship wing of the United Nations and World Health Organization? Why would Facebook do it? Why would YouTube? Why would Instagram? Why would Twitter do it? Remember, all of these entities are artificial creations of the state. Are you snoring yet? Are you bored out of your tears, or are you paying attention? Remember, a corporation is an artificial creation of the state. The state gives life to it, an artificial construct that can operate with limited liability, so the people running it behind it can't be directly responsible for what it does. I mean, there are ways to pierce the veil of invincibility, but let's just take it on up from there. So the United States, or the states, which are representatives in a sense, all aligned and somehow parties to the treaty, indirectly or directly, now have obligations under that international treaty that you aren't privy to. And you don't even know you were sold out as obligations to debt through the Federal Reserve, the International Monetary Fund, and World Bank, all part of the same banker consortium. Because you have a number and you use that number and you identify with that number, it gives you special privileges. But with those privileges come rules and strings attached that mean freedom of speech for you is not really, it's an Orwellian form of freedom of speech. Let's just say it that way. And that's how you could simultaneously coexist as an artificial creation of the state, but in truth and in reality, you are a creation of God, but have been convinced, just like the old parable that I love so much, Super Don's favorite, you come as eagles, we come as eagles, of the eagle who was born among chickens. The eagle's egg somehow got lost in a chicken coop, was born among chickens, and it scratched around in the dirt, looking up in the sky, going, gosh, I wish I could soar above like those eagles. And all the chickens around that little eagle that was born among chickens says, don't be silly, don't be ridiculous, don't be stupid, you're a chicken. Stop, don't even bother looking up and thinking about that. You can't do that. That's not who you are. And so we have the entire, I say almost world, but certainly in the United States, our fellow man, woman, and child that are completely brought up under this illusion believe that these numbers don't really mean anything. Oh, they're just numbers to allow me to do this. But what else do they tie you into? What obligations are you now party to that you had no earthly idea, which I would argue is an unconscionable contract because you had no idea what you or your parents signed you up for. And once again, censorship against you, forced to wear masks. You can't play in a park because you have acquiesced to a jurisdiction, not of God, but of government, and of government that has sold out you, me, everybody that has been numbered in this way, if you participate in that system, to a globalist consortium, bankers, of course, but a Luciferian agenda to disconnect you from the true source, to continue to convince you you're a bunch of chickens scratching around in the dirt for worms, rather than the spiritual eagles that you were born to be and that you are, soaring high above this, not to violate and abrogate responsibility that you have to be a good person or soul, to live according to spiritual principles, but so that you would be manipulated and hooked up to some kind of siphon, like a permanent IV where they're draining you of your blood, a little bit at a time, not enough to kill you, but every little bit that they can get, max it out until they realize, okay, that's too much. We'll back off a little bit and we'll pretend that you're free. And you'll feel free suddenly because they remove a little less blood per day for a while. And you're like, hey, hallelujah, I'm free. I know I'm going deep here today. I did not plan to do that, but I want to give you another insight to perhaps, if you can dig a little deeper down another rabbit hole, to find out how we got here and to not tilt at windmills like Don Quixote. Rather, focus your attention on that which is actually controlling the horizontal and the vertical in your life and disconnect from them. You don't have to attack and kill them. You literally withdraw your consent and you stop feeding them. Like a cancer, starving that cancer through fasting. It's not comfortable, believe me. You won't like it. But the other side is much greater when it no longer has that ability to anchor. It doesn't have the tentacles. It doesn't have the whatever the roots are that it had planted in you before you even had an opportunity to make a choice. This is why censorship is happening from these multinational corporations, and the U.S. government is not doing anything to curtail it. Republicans or Democrats, nothing. Nothing's happening there. And then we go to other stories beyond curtailing of freedom of speech. How about freedom of doctors to care for their patients as they feel clinically appropriate, not through force or fraud, but through voluntary contracts, if you will. You go into this clinic, the Allure, I think it's called Medical Spa in Michigan. We covered this story yesterday. There was an FBI raid because why? They were apparently doing vitamin C infusions. Now, I dispute whether that's really vitamin C. I'll just call it ascorbic acid or ascorbate infusions that can have a greater benefit with a lot less detriment than what we call mustard gas chemotherapy. So it is better, I agree. But now it's not enough that they raided him for daring to give vitamin C treatments, and they're saying, well, because you claimed it was for COVID-19. How dare you raise false hope or whatever it is. This doctor appears to be the first person charged in Metro Detroit with a crime during a federal crackdown on people trying to exploit and capitalize on the global pandemic. But what do they do otherwise? What does Big Pharma do? Exploit and capitalize on the fear of flu. Exploit and capitalize on the fear of viruses. But it's okay for them because what's good for the goose ain't good for the gander, right? They say that. Court records, and again, you know these court records. I am biased and inclined not to believe the feds first and foremost. And I think that's a healthier way to go through life. Assume they are lying or at the very least misrepresenting the truth, which is a form of lying, maybe through omission, until you can independently and directly validate their claims. They say about this doctor, this clinic, that he's trying to seize an opportunity to steal patients during the pandemic, calling doctors cowards for shuttering rival clinics and running his own clinic with employees who kept working despite testing positive for the virus. No, this is what I call a courageous man, a man who's willing to say, you know what, this is different than what we're being told it is, and I have a way to help people. And I've been working with this for years without incident, and now, of course, they say, well, in the era of COVID, we can't let you do what you were already doing. So they've charged him, and they say it could be 10 years in prison if he's found guilty. He's touted a variety of treatments on YouTube and in personal appearances on local TV stations. So he's been out front. He's not hiding. They do all kinds of things: vascular surgery, hormone replacement, stem cell therapy, skin care, weight loss, urgent care. And they do varicose vein treatments. I'm not saying I'm behind everything they do, but his freedom to do it, not by forcing you, not by deceiving you, but saying, hey, this is what I do. But the feds, they can't tolerate this. As I said, doctors, you're not home free because you're doctors. The danger and the warning I placed years ago about licensure put you at risk. Because when you're licensed, you've engaged in asking permission to do something that would otherwise be considered illegal. Now, granted, if anybody, put up a roadside stand with no training, and they started doing IV therapies, yeah, there's some problems there. They're not qualified. I agree with that. But then you have statutes against fraud and things like that even preclude what they call licensure laws, which are practice protection acts that kind of narrowly define who can do what, but then they so broadly, in fact, define it that they can perceive anybody as competition. I've talked about the dietitians, for instance, or even the medical doctors with their licensure, saying that if you were, as a mom or a dad or, just someone who is interested in caring, we're coaching somebody to eat better, eat a whole grain, if you do grains, or a whole food diet, because it will help alleviate your constipation. that in many cases the statutes for practice of medicine are so broad and vaguely written that it is not outside the realm of possibility, and it has been done, that people like a friend could be, hey, look, I helped you out. You want to help me out a little bit? And there's some kind of exchange. They say, oh, now that's an economic thing, and you are violating medical practice acts or dietetic laws or acts or regulations. And they come and get you. So the land of the free, y'all listening around the world, America is not free. It hasn't been free for a long time, especially when it comes to health and healing. And when I first started this show 21 years now, and I talked about these things, about doctors not being free if they stop prescribing or reduce their prescription rates, that they could be brought up by their boards, questioned, threatened with loss of license. And I had some doctors that couldn't conceive that that was possible. And now y'all know it's true, and it happens. And this is evidence of it, more evidence of it, when they're going after doctors for daring to step outside the box or disagree with the United Nations, World Health Organization, or CDC, FDA. Again, we all have become slaves to a system, not of our own making, but of our own participation. We continue to give life to it, artificial as it may be. Claims were false and fraudulent because they were for services that were unreasonable, unnecessary, or that simply did not occur as Allure reported to have occurred. Again, if things deceptively, there's, again, legitimacy in the perhaps the bringing up of charges. I don't know definitively what has happened here, but I am inclined, based on the track record and the history of watching the federal government go after good people who are doing good work and deceiving no one, harming no one, even if I may disagree with or not endorse personally vitamin C infusion because they're not vitamin C. I am not so stubborn and obstinate to not acknowledge that some people that might have died were helped by it, vitamin C chemotherapy. But I again also say that what I have seen, witnessed in my own experience, is that micrograms of selenium, whole food selenium, can accomplish what grams or thousands of milligrams of vitamin C maybe can do sometimes. Is that me saying never do vitamin C? No, I'm not saying I've never said it. I would much rather have doctors infusing ascorbic acid into the veins rather than toxic chemo. I'd rather have them do SEMO. It's a step in the right direction. But what I much rather have them do is acknowledge the role of selenium in keeping the immune system, the cells regulated properly. And of course, when it comes to the fear of viruses or exosomal activity, selenium is key in maintaining integrity of metabolic function at the deepest levels of the cell. And I'm not even talking about microbiome at the moment, even though that plays a role in terms of utilization of that which comes into you through food that you are designed to break down and utilize, or facilitated into production and accessibility by the body, for the body via the microbiome, which is destroyed by what? Chemo, antibiotics, things like that. Modern medicine contributing greatly to the devastating impact and death, iatrogenocide, that is even COVID-19. One more story here before we get to the bottom of our break. I know I'm going a little bit long here. Federal court blocks Texas Health Center from touting ozone therapy as coronavirus treatment. Do you see the pattern here? Censorship. Now, this is censorship via the government more directly than YouTube censoring those two doctors and what they said. But a Texas wellness company was barred from promoting ozone therapy as a treatment for coronavirus following a lawsuit by the Justice Department. Remember, justice, the definition of justice is just us. And it ain't you and me. We ain't in the club. And that means whatever they say it is, you got to go by along with it, especially if you're part of that system and operate within it via artificializing your reality, by acquiescing to their subjugation of you via numerical numbering. I know it's redundant. Numerical numbering of you. Like I've spoken out against many times, talking about Revelation, the mark of the beast. IBM numbered some of my ancestry, Jews, but others in World War II, tattooed them. And now we got Bill Gates wanting to do similar things regarding tracking you via invisible ink vaccination tattoos and or biometric data tracked by Real ID. Guess what? A gold star. Learn from history or you're doomed to repeat it. I'm not playing that game, and I hope you're not as well, but recognizing that, yeah, there are serious considerations here that we are being confronted with. It would be a lot easier to not have to think about them and do them. But now that you're seeing what their end goal is, global vaccinations via mandate, thanks to what? Bill Gates, the United Nations, and the World Health Organization. Purity Health and Wellness Centers in Dallas used its Instagram account to claim to potential customers that its ozone treatments can cure and prevent COVID-19, according to a complaint filed this week by federal prosecutors in Texas. One post said, the coronavirus is here in the U.S. The only prevention is ozone. Now, look, I might disagree with this. I might disagree that's the only protection. But I would defend somebody's right to say it if they truly believed it and had some level of validation to back it up. Now, we could still argue about that, but as long as you're not deceiving via intentional fraud or force, coercion, for people to come into your clinic to get this treatment, why should that be a violation of any federal a federal restriction on freedom of speech or freedom to practice, if you will, medicine or otherwise? It is because we are a nation of slaves. We have become enslaved to a federal bureaucracy that goes beyond that because it no longer honors and is limited by a federal constitution, much less state constitutions, because I say, once again, as I round this back around, and then we can all wake up from this horrible nightmare of Robert Scott Bell talking international treaties. Maybe you should become a Patreon and watch me and Super D and my daughter singing Copacabana by Barry Manilow, and that'll lighten up the mood. We'll talk about that when we come back from this break. Links are up in the show notes at robertscottbell.com, as they always are, 2 hours a day, 6 days a week. I'll just show you briefly some of the things we've covered so far. If you want to look at them with different eyes, jaded eyes, open eyes, squinty eyes, whatever, and you will get perspectives on these stories like you already have, like nowhere else in broadcast media. This is the Robert Scott Bell Show. Go to robertscottbell.com. We've got questions of the day coming up on a lot of cool topics. Y'all are bringing it, and I'll be bringing it as well, hopefully with Super Don after this break. Thank you so much for being here. Remember, the power to heal is yours. I'm just here to remind you of that, and also remind you that our friends at Trinity School of Natural Health are ready to help you out, hook you up, get you set up with a new career in helping people to get well without drugs. Imagine that.
Trinity's Certified Natural Health Professional Program serves as the foundation to our more advanced CHHP or Certified Holistic Health Practitioner program. This course will teach you how to apply naturopathic fundamentals to pursue a healthy body, mind, and spirit. From wholesome cooking to shopping to the human body systems, this program prepares you to care for yourself, your family, and your community. In this course, you will learn human anatomy and physiology, as well as the requirements of each body system, the need for proper nutrition and elimination of waste, how to incorporate natural health principles in your own home with tips for shopping, cooking, cleaning, pet care, and first aid, how to conduct client consultations and assessments, and make safe legal recommendations. One of the greatest things about this certification is it's designed for you to put your knowledge into practice right after you complete the course. In a world full of toxins, it's essential to learn how to keep yourself and others healthy. Trinity's CNHP program is the perfect choice for you. If you have any questions or feel this is the program for you, please send us an email or give us a call and get started on your path to transform the world.
Thank you all for being here. Is anybody still here after that? I mean, I talk Super Don about worried when I do homeopathy only shows that people will be bored. I know they're not. I'm teasing, obviously, but seriously, when I go to the levels like we talked about censorship in the first half hour, I'm like, do people really want to go there to recognize that the Constitution is no longer in effect and it's been treated away? It just
a little bit at a time, right?
Yeah,
and that's how they do things. Mm-hmm. You know, a little bit here, a little bit there.
Over many decades.
We got a pandemic here. We got a national emergency. We got 9/11. You know. People don't notice because it happens gradually over time. I'm sure that if you were able to get in a time machine and go back 100 years, mm-hmm. right, mm-hmm. And say, "Hey, guess what we're doing in 2020?"
Yeah,
what you can't do what,
dude? There's a playbook, and the folks. I know that you don't want to go there. You think, oh, man, they're violating the Constitution. It's because the Constitution. It's like, yeah, it is, but we've been treated away. We've been basically made as collateral on a debt that can never be paid. It's not supposed to even be questioned. And, if you think that voting really makes a difference? Yeah, I mean, we could argue, obviously, if Hillary Clinton were president versus Trump, there would be differences. I'm not saying that, but neither of them have addressed to the left. Again, I guess I'm a nitpicker on this, but completely pull out of the United Nations World Health Organization treaty. Completely, because a lot of what we're seeing, Agenda 21, the 2030 agenda for no child left behind related to vaccines, thanks to Bill Gates, it's coming out of the woodworks. All of that would be null and void. We'd be going, y'all can do that the rest of the world if you want, but we're America. We don't want to do that. And then you find out, well, why does Republican and Democrat after every successive administration, and none of them pull out of these international treaties that really impact our freedom as doctors, much less to speak about these things or to quote unquote treat disease if that's what you do, right? With ozone or other things that are viable options in the medical field that they're shutting down because the feds say, no, can't do that. Who are they protecting, really? You'd say the pharmaceutical industry, but how far and how high up does it go? WHO. All of that. It's enmeshed completely. And that goes back to IG Farben, Nazi Germany. And it goes back further than that. We go 1933, bankruptcy of the United States. We go back to 1913, the establishment of the Federal Reserve Act. We go back to 1910, the Flexner Report of 1910, establishing petrochemical pharmaceutical medicine of the 20th and now 21st century as the only legitimate form of medicine. We're going to wipe out all competition. No vitalistic views allowed, no homeopaths. We tried to get rid of chiropractors, but Wilk versus AMA, was it 1976? They got their licenses, and now the majority of chiropractic colleges, schools in America require vaccination upon entry. Naturopathic colleges, the ones that are accepted and accredited, all teaching vaccination. You see how far we've corrupted everything, and it didn't happen overnight, y'all? So when people like us, we've been talking about where it's going, and y'all are nuts. And like now we're living it, not that, and it's accelerating, the quickening. So,
well, some of us are nuts.
How about me wearing my silly hat and doing Barry Manilow?
Yeah, we've been talking.
See this? Look, I'm wearing my hat right now. See it?
That's the hat from the video.
That's the famous hat.
Yeah. That is the hat.
You got to see it, but you got to be a Patreon to really pay for the. I hesitate to say privilege. I almost think pay for the. Do you really want to see that?
Yeah, I mean, look, it was. We put a challenge out there, and people responded. They did, and so we followed through with what we said we were going to do. It took us a day or two longer than we anticipated, but. It's
I have to admit, it's very funny.
It got posted last night, so if you are a member of Patreon and you didn't get the notification via email, we did post the video last night of Robert and I and Robert's daughter singing Copacabana, which was a challenge that Ula had thrown out there, and we acquiesced.
I don't know what we were thinking.
If you don't know what we're talking about, we've got a page called Patreon, which is a place where you can go to support the show for as little as $4.99 a month. There's a whole bunch of perks involved in being a part of Patreon, but also we do live Q&As, which we've got another one coming up next month. God, it's almost May.
Yeah.
And
there it is. There's the Barry Manilow download. You asked for it.
Showing it?
No, I'm not showing the video. I just showed the
okay. There's the video right there. So if you want to see, if you want to see us singing Copacabana, you can just run over to Patreon. You can join. That helps support the show and the things that we're doing, and gives you access to this fun stuff too.
Cool. I know that Super D, you were having some internet troubles, connectivity in the beginning of the show. That's why I just kind of railed through the first half hour at my own peril and risk to losing all of our viewers and listeners.
It wasn't that bad.
Okay. Like you said, I gotta kind of drip it out. Sometimes I gotta go blah, about how deep the rabbit hole goes, and y'all dig deeper, and as I can reveal more, I will. But I appreciate y'all. Anybody that's still here with me after that, you shall be richly rewarded with maybe some questions of the day. Let me see if I can find them here in the first hour, right? We got questions. Oh, here they are. Yep. Time for questions of the day.
Excuse me. I'd like to ask you a few questions.
First question of the day comes from Wendy. Hello, Robert and Super Don, my radio boyfriends. Super Don, do we have enough room for all these radio girlfriends we got now?
I think it's just one.
It's just one? Oh, it's the same one, Wendy's?
It's the same one.
It's an exclusive thing? Okay. All right, Wendy. We love you, Wendy. Thank you. Being our humble and lovable homeopath, have you considered doing a weekly segment on homeopathy? Maybe focus on one remedy weekly? Many of us have started studying homeopathy because of you and would appreciate an educational section narrated by you. P.S. Would you send me that Think While It's Still Legal t-shirt on your back yesterday? Wendy. You know what? We need to find out a way to get more of those printed or reach out to G. Edward Griffin and the Red Pill Expo because those are popular. I don't think I've worn a t-shirt that had that immediate, like, I want that, right? As I'm working on our own t-shirts here, obviously still, but we're going to see if we can get more of them or have you get access to that. If we have to make our own, hopefully we don't, but that'll be an option. But as far as a weekly homeopathy segment, over many years of the show, because when we launched Groundhog Day 2011, 6 days a week through Natural News Radio and everything, we were doing weekly Healing Revolution segments with Dr. Frank King. And of course, that included homeopathy, right? And then eventually he went to once a month. So we were at once a month doing Healing Revolution. So maybe I should, Super Don, do like a Friday segment 3 times a month, right? Or 4 times, depending on if it's a 5-week, 5 Fridays a month. And then it doesn't have to be long enough to put people to sleep, but I could highlight a remedy a week. And in the meantime, it'll keep me more focused on finishing up the PowerPoint for the Intro to Homeopathy, particularly clinical prescribing for Trinity School of Natural Health as a video on demand. So I'm inclined to say, Wendy, I like your idea, and let's see what we can do to implement that.
Well, and let's put it out to everybody who's watching right now.
Is anybody else would like that, or do you tune out when I talk homeopathy? Yeah, see, that's my concern. Go to sleep because people just like energy medicine. We're all materialists here.
Expecto Patronum.
Or we can do the police. Is it the police that you're saying we are spirits in the material world?
I think that was Sting.
Or was it Sting with the police? Somebody let us know.
Solo, I think. I don't think that was. I don't think that was.
In
I
the
think that was after
material
the
world.
police.
How come Ula didn't ask us to sing that instead of Copacabana?
Don't give her any
no idea.
ideas,
Don't give her an idea.
man.
You're right. I should give her an idea.
Doing?
All right. Here's another question of the day coming up right after Wendy's. This is from Anthony. And fortunately, he doesn't say we're his radio boyfriends. Says, hi, Robert. Is silver hydrosol effective at killing Candida auris? Answer, yes. I work in a hospital, he says, in New York, managing the housekeeping team. How can I protect myself from this as well as any other potential communicable infection? I take 3 teaspoons of sovereign silver daily, as well as 200 micrograms of selenium and some zinc, and your doggy is in on it. Many thanks, Anthony. So, I've talked about the prophylactic use of silver hydrosol, doing a teaspoon 3 times a day, and it sounds like you've availed yourself of that, Anthony. That'll keep you strong. In terms of candida receptivity, you really have to have an altered terrain to be vulnerable to candida. It's not as virulent, as we can call it, as communicable as certain other things like bacterial infections, okay? And I know, again, we have dispute about the virus issue, so I'm not going to get into that right now. But I think that based on your exposure to sick people, being in that environment, 200 micrograms of innate response selenium. Look, I try to get 450 micrograms in me a day. Some days I'll only get 300 micrograms, which is 3 tablets two times a day. I try to do 3 tablets 3 times a day. I'm more inclined to say be a little bit more diligent with your selenium and go to 3 tablets 3 times a day. If you know you're being exposed massively and the environment itself is just loaded with 5G and fluorescent lights and all that other nastiness that works against your health, then maybe even go up to 3-4 times a day and get up to like 800 micrograms, at least for times if you're feeling vulnerable. And you didn't say you were sick, you're just concerned about something like candida. All the strains of candida are vulnerable to the active state of silver, topically and or internally. If it's in the gut, that's the silver aloe protocol. And Super Don, you sent out a massive new list, didn't you? A big email this couple of days ago to all of our new potential subscribers, shall we say, through the Get Off Your Sugar Summit. And a lot of people are learning about the silver aloe protocol for the first time and addressing gut health issues.
Yes, quite a few. So we're looking forward to adding new members to the Robert Scott Bell Show family.
Yeah, and I think one of the questions will relate to the Silver Adler Protocol. We haven't had a question about that in a while. I anticipate we'll get a few more based on the exposure to that chapter in the book that Ty Bollinger and I wrote. That's called Unlock the Power to Heal. Unlock the Power to Heal. And that's available through Barnes & Noble Online, BN.com, and Amazon.com. There it is on the right-hand side as you can click on it. Also, our friends at Synergy Science. You can get the Echo Water. You can get the Key Technologies. Let's see if I can open it up. Apparently, they've updated their website, upgraded their website big time. And so if I click on Echo up here on their webpage at synergyscience.com, remember, if you click through the Robert Scott Bell Show links, you automatically are going to get the best deal. Discount will be applied. If not, then enter RSB 10. But you can see all about hydrogen water, and there's a lot of science references, and it's great. It's a beautiful new site. I like it. And then if you can go backwards, you can go into all the different forms of the Echo Water. If you go backwards and then we click on the Key Technologies, they also call it WaveGuard now. I think that's a modification for people to understand. In the West, that don't know Key, QI, like Chi, EMF protection. It talks about EM fields, health concerns associated with it, and again, referencing science as well, not just conjecture. And this is very good. I love the way it looks. Y'all, if you've been waiting to learn a little bit more, it's going to be even easier than ever to learn about why I use the Key technology and why I use Echo Water, molecular hydrogen water. So with that, let's see. We got another, gosh, it's getting crazier and crazier out there. Let me see if this story is real, because this almost sounds like fake news, overtly fake news. The CDC, what are they doing now? Remember, CDC playing in under international treaty connected to UN and WHO. Why don't we stop funding the CDC? That would be my applause line. CDC is now recommending social distancing for pets.
Oh, come on, man.
Yep. Stay away, Sparky. Yeah, you know what? You're going to have to do those. I don't know if do you remember Super Don years ago? They had these gag gifts, and one of them was like the invisible pet leash, which was
sure.
It was like a wire, so it looked like you were actually walking an invisible pet. And I'm thinking, in that sense, if you really harness your dog to that one, it's like a pole, so you can keep them at a safe distance. But really, now we got to take it out on our pets because they might be coronavirus susceptible, corona positive. What is the word here?
CDC guidelines recommend that people restrict their pets from interacting with other animals when outside their house.
Oh, yeah.
And urge people to keep cats indoors when possible and to walk dogs on a leash while maintaining at least 6 feet from other people and animals.
Yeah. Everybody's going to name their pet Corona after this, just so that people will stay away from them. This is absolutely redonkulous. I'm just sorry. I mean,
now you got to be afraid of your pets.
Right.
You know, and we covered something like this a couple months ago. You remember this when things were really starting to ramp up? Mm-hmm. And there was a veterinarian.
Yeah.
And I think this was I want to say it was in Australia. Mm-hmm. That was saying that people were actually coming to him to euthanize their pets because they were afraid they were going to get the coronavirus from their dog or their cat.
This is like War of the Worlds.
It's crazy.
You know, Orson Welles was H.G. Wells. Orson Welles does H.G. Wells. He, reading it out, and then people believe it's real, and therefore they do things like suicide, homicide, kill their animals. Is this really where we're going? Well, apparently we've already gone there, and the CDC is ushering that in. And if you dispute that, how long will it be before YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter ban your account, if not temporarily, permanently? How dare you speak out against the authoritative doctrine of the Centers for Disease Creation and Promotion? That's where we're going in this case. I mean, now you got to distance from your pets distancing from other pets, all because of the fear of the invisible virus that they claim they have identified and can tell you with PCR and antibody tests. You know, Super Don, I did yesterday, you sent me the link, and I watched that Curtis Cost presentation where James Lyons Weiler, Dr. Jack, was debating, who was it? David Rasnick. Dr. Raznick. And it's a couple hours, and I skimmed through most of it, I will say. And you know what I have to say more than anything, is it cordiality or niceness, or it was not hostile at all. There were very significant disagreements between Raznick and Dr. Jack, and yet they were completely friendly to one another. And I thought that's a really great example of how it could and should be. You don't have to yell and scream if you disagree. You can bring out your points and go, you know what? We've got a big chasm between us, but that doesn't mean we have to hate one another. And I have to say, I applaud both of them. I expected that from Raznick and Dr. Jack too, because he's a nice guy. He really is well considered, well measured, and in a lot of ways on the same side as we are, even if we might have still disagreements about PCR and such. And yet the example was given, Super Don, that I like so much, of people being able to disagree without being disagreeable. And I know that's a lot to ask.
It still happens. It's still possible, but it's not as common as it used to be.
No.
And, society in general has just become extremely polarized to the point where you either love somebody or you hate them. There's no in between, right?
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate.
I'm biased to begin with, coming to Dr. Jack, because I have kind of been raised on, if you will, Peter Duesberg, Harvey Bialy, Celia Farber's written extensively on it. John Rappaport has. Raznick, of course, PhD. All of these folks that have been invested in a perspective on AIDS and HIV that is quite outside the mainstream. And they were always asking for a higher standard. Step it up. Prove what you're saying beyond a reasonable doubt. I know that's a courtroom saying, but there's got to be some way to validate. And to Raznick's point, the PCR has never been validated to do what they claim it's done. Now, if you take fragments of genetic material, RNA or DNA, and you've sequenced them and you match it and you load it, and Dr. Jack was talking about, we can use that and identify that. But Raz's point was that they've never isolated the virus within a living system. That there's still great dispute over that, as it is with HIV, with Hep C, and with the so-called new coronavirus. It's one thing to manufacture it in a lab in a dish and watch it grow, but to isolate it in a human or an animal, that's where it falls down. And they can leap beyond that. Some people go, well, I'm not even going to bother with that. I'm just going to go forward with this. Or others would say, no, I think that gold standard has to be met of isolation. And so there's the chasm, but yet they weren't coming to blows and throws. They weren't dropping epithets at each other and denigrating each other because they had a different viewpoint. And again, I respect that immensely. Even if I can disagree with some of those points. But my gosh, I would like to do that one day here, Super D. I'm just saying. That would be fun. Because I've got perspectives on it that I think would be interesting.
The advantage of something like that, when it's done in that type of an environment, it allows you to be able to see different points of view without feeling like you are obligated to pick one side or the other, right? That's a really strange place to be in this day and age, because most of the time when you're exposed to opposing points of view, whether you're watching, whatever, CNN, Fox News, whatever, these things, there's always a slant, there's always a bias. And when you go into a situation like that where you're having two people with opposing points of view discussing those points of view, an environment where there is no bias, where it's truly neutral, it's a neat experience, because then you're not being pulled one direction or another, right?
How refreshing is that?
It is. It is. It's very cool, and so it's cool that Curtis Cost is taking the time to put these types of things together. He's doing, I think, a really important service for people.
Yeah. And I'd like to get Curtis on to talk about it some more, because he's one of the few that actually do what we would ascribe to real journalists or host, in a sense, in media, that you would allow for that level of discussion. That would be amazing if it happened more often than it does. So great job, Curtis. We'll get to that some more. What else am I thinking about here? I mean, the pet stuff. What are y'all going to do? I'm asking you. If you have pets, if you walk a dog, remember that New Jersey math teacher yesterday? Was it we opened with? It was crazy, yelling at the students.
I hope you all die from coronavirus.
I mean, how horrible is that? Are they going to? Is this same teacher going to yell at people walking their dog because they got 2 dogs and they're too close to one another?
I hope your dog dies from coronavirus.
Seriously, man, the crazy has come out. Not that it wasn't there before, but fear makes people even crazier. And I would ask that you recognize, as those physicians who were banned from YouTube for just saying, dude, it doesn't look like the death rate is as bad as was predicted by those initial models. And yet I know there's still people saying, no, we are wrong. Everybody's got it wrong. They're as bad or worse. But I'm coming at it from a perspective of the law of the terrain, that when you are healthy, healthy life begets healthy life. If you are not healthy, then you are vulnerable. And it isn't about destroying and killing things in your environment as much as it is strengthening your own environment to allow yourself to work and move about the earth cabin as you were designed to do. Right? If the germ theory were accurate, once again, there is no explanation for life itself, human and animal, because we should all be dead. We don't have to catch anything. We've got enough in our system to kill us at any moment in time. There's even E. coli in our gut and candida in our gut. Why does it not jump up and destroy us? Because it's there. There is no need to catch it. You can alter your environment and it can alter itself because of that environment, not because it's evil, not because it wants to kill you, but because you've given it the home to function, to manifest, to reproduce, or you might say replicate if y'all are believing in the viral cause of disease or infection, if you will. And again, I say there's dispute there, but I acknowledge that most people are not there yet. So these are the discussions we have, not meaning to bore you to tears, but if you are, just sign up, become a patron of the Robert Scott Bell Show, and watch Super Don and me and my daughter sing Copacabana together in the most serious of fashions. I mean, this is high level art. We're definitely going for the old people American Idol. Maybe my daughter will go for the actually no, you and I, Super Don, are going. Actually, I'm going for the Gong Show. That's
the
about
Gong Show.
The level I could get with.
I don't think that's on anymore. You know, they brought that back for a period of time, and I think it's gone again. But I remember that as a kid. That was one of my favorite shows. The Gong. I remember that too. And look, let me just modify my saying that I try to remember to say every hour. The power to sing is not mine. And you'll find out. We had a good time. You'll
find out. But the next level, again, if we can get up to 100 Patreon supporters?
100, yeah.
You're going to hit one of the big box retailers and wear some kind of funky mask and interact with folks.
Funky mask and crazy thing. And we'll video it and get people's reactions. I don't know. I'll try and get something worth videoing.
Could be a horse face on the street. Yeah. I don't know.
So we need 19, I think it is. 19
to get there.
Patrons to get to 100, and then I'll do that.
Well, and there might be some other incentives. We are going to give away a stress control formula this week, right?
Tomorrow.
Homeopathic tomorrow.
Yep, we'll do tomorrow.
So hopefully you've gotten the email alert from Super Don. He explains exactly what to do.
It was in the last newsletter.
Yeah. What to do to become part of the pool, how small it is, that could win the homeopathic stress control formula from Dr. King. And dude, if you think playing the lottery is your odds are again, this is like very few people, because we got a lot of listeners, but not everybody enters.
Heck yeah.
So dude, enter. And even if we don't, if you don't win, we might be able to play you on the air with whatever the answer or response is that Super Don was eliciting to enter into the next giveaway. So
absolutely. We like giving away stuff. It's fun because, the stuff that we're giving away, we're not giving away crap. I mean, we're giving away the tools that we talk about here on the show. They're going to help you. And so we love doing that. So if you want to get in on that, if you're a new listener, viewer, whatever, I guess I have to remember we're not on radio anymore.
Just radio, yeah.
Just get over to robertscottbell.com, sign up for the newsletter. That's where I put the info in to join the contests. And I don't know. Well, I guess we'll find out on Friday what the next giveaway is going to be.
Right. And remember, a lot of people do listen to us on iTunes and Stitcher and SoundCloud. And I think now Spotify, right? Spotify as well?
We are on Spotify, yes.
So, those are primarily audio. And some folks out there that have like mini radio stations that actually do broadcast the weekday show out to their local area. And we can't keep up with all of that that's happening. So wherever you are, just come on down to the Robert Scott Bell Show, robertscottbell.com, 2 hours a day, 6 days a week. Right here on Natural News Radio and beyond. We've got a lot more healing to go. Hour 2, we got even more good questions and perhaps a comment or two. And Super Don will be monitoring the feed from all the different views that are coming in out there. And if you got to see the Copacabana devastating presentation that I did with Super and my daughter. You can kind of tease it for those that are on the fence about why they should join or should not join. Become a patron member, supporter of the Robert Scott Bell Show. You know who you are, cruise directors.
Judy, I just want to say here, Judy is saying here that she still can't log on to Patreon.
Mm-hmm.
Can you send me a link? I'm on the newsletter list.
What do you say, kiddo? What do you say?
I mean, yeah, I can send you a link. I mean, if you go over to robertscottbell.com and you click on the banner, that should take you right to it. So I don't know, Judy, do me a favor and shoot me an email at askrsb, ASKRSB, like Ask Robert Scott Bell at gmail.com, and let me know exactly what it is that you're having problems with the Patreon, and I'll see if I can walk you through it. Cool.
In the meantime, in hour 2, we got questions of the day about pandemic and anti-vaxxers, mask shortages. We got nebulizing silver questions. We got silver aloe questions. There's a lot of great questions coming up tomorrow. Tomorrow, next hour. And there are people that are asking about the antidepressant stuff. So I'm going to go back into that. And finally, Harvard law professor wants to ban homeschoolers, but she's so cognitively dissonant, it's a wonder that she's got one foot in this world at all. Just terrible what she says about homeschooling. And we'll get to that in a moment. Stick with us. Tell your friends, the place for health, freedom, and healing liberty, right here on the Robert Scott Bell Show, where the power to heal is yours.
The Robert Scott Bell Show. The Robert Scott Bell Show.
Have you ever watched a movie with superheroes and villains? If so, you already understand the science of drinking hydrogen-enriched water and how to unlock true health. Allow me to explain. In our bodies, we have a natural struggle between superheroes and villains, with molecular hydrogen being the superhero and oxidative stress the villain. So how does knowing that give you the tools to unlock true health? Your body is naturally designed to fight oxidative stress through specific bacteria in the gut that creates hydrogen on their own. Pretty awesome, right? So why does this matter? Well, in most people, the hydrogen-creating bacteria is gone, and cancer and disease soon follow. So the real question is, why aren't we trying to fix this every day? Well, the answer is simple. It's hard. Even the most healthy of individuals who biohack take months or years to achieve this balance. But how do we get there without taking months or even years? After years of study and development, we discovered and designed the perfect technology that made it all possible. We call this technology Echo H2 Water. Within minutes of drinking hydrogen-rich water from our Echo Hydrogen water machines, you are back in control, balanced, and feeling amazingly hydrated and healthy. Having your own Echo Hydrogen water machine is kinda like having your own team of superheroes on call, always available to fight the villains in your body. Pretty cool, right? But don't just take our word for it. Get your Echo H2 water machine today and quickly bring your body into balance with hydrogen.
The Robert Scott Bell Show.
I listen to get accurate, up-to-date information.
I've learned so much from him.
It is awesome. It's the best entertainment that I've found.
You rock the health world. Keep it up. I love you.
Now, the voice of health, freedom, and liberty, here's Robert Scott Bell.
I was out walking this morning visiting a neighbor who invited me over to check out his garden. And it was great, sharing tips. Because he's got an established garden for many years, unlike mine, which is being started up again from mostly scratch. And as I looked up into the sky, I'm like, oh, crap, man. Did you see what they're spraying up there today? I don't know if where you are this has happened, but we talk about geoengineering. It's otherwise known as chemtrails. These are not real clouds. These are artificial, spewing in the atmosphere, dissipating over, probably pumping us full of heavy metals so that when the 5G is turned on, you're a programmed robot at that point, if not a COVID victim who can't breathe because of all the heavy metals in your body that you weren't aware of because you tried to clean them up and they keep coming in through the air you're breathing. Now, I say that and you go, well, what's the point, Robert, if they're going to do that? I try to do everything I can to be well, and then they still do that. Well, everything you can do that is within your control, I believe that God is asking us to do. If you have control over the air, the food, the water, right? What do we do about the air? We can't do much. Right now, we're not doing as much because most people are not driving as much and other things that are going on. So we can see the air is cleaner. So why are they still spewing stuff to create these dissipated fogginess clouds up above on a otherwise blue, clear day? And you say, well, that's airplanes. Those are contrails. No, contrails are completely different, folks. And, if you see the same planes pretty much flying over day by day, not doing that, and then what's the difference? Well, it's the atmospheric phenomenon today is different than any other day. You could see within a stop and a starting point of sometimes these sprays coming out of these planes that have nothing to do with fronts moving through, but everything to do with flip the switch on, flip the switch off. Whether it's remote or not, I don't know. But the point is, it's really disgusting what they're trying to do in terms of polluting you. If it's not via injection, it's via the food that is genetically modified and sprayed with toxic chemicals. And if it's not that way, they're going to spew stuff in the air, even when the air is getting cleaner. I know it doesn't happen every day, everywhere, but I just looked up and noticed that today. It's kind of you don't have control over everything. Then you got the control over the things you have, and you've got to be willing, up to you, not telling you to do it, to do everything within your power to clean up the things you have control over. Because even as you grow outside organically, things that come down from the atmosphere are still going to be some level of contamination. But that's not, in my opinion, an excuse to give up. Oh, well, then it's worthless doing anything. What drives you to live life here, to try to live a long, healthy life here? Again, that's up to you. And I'm just throwing it out there that these strategies that we have deciphered, whatever, clinically used or whatever for many years, are the things that I do. I'm not going to tell you to do something I wouldn't do unless you're female with female specific problems. I'm probably not going to take the same herbs as you just because I don't need them. But I'll still talk about them from time to time, or the homeopathic remedies. So welcome once again. Second hour of the Robert Scott Bell Show begins now. This is me, Super Don, delaying talking about this. If I dare say woman, I'm hard pressed to believe that she really is not a man. And this isn't this isn't only about her looks. It's about the energy she brings. It's not at all nurturing, in my opinion. And this is a Harvard law professor, apparently. And she's calling for a ban on homeschooling while everyone is forced to homeschool. That's the irony here. This check this out. You tell me, man, woman, something in between, multiple. I mean, if you think there are many genders, which one is this? Elizabeth Bartholet, or is it Bartholet? And that image came from YouTube, Harvard Kennedy School. She is really, really hot and heavy on this ban homeschooling issue. How bad does it get? The issue is, and I'm quoting her now, do we think that parents should have 24/7 essentially authoritarian control over their children from the ages 0 to 18? I think that's dangerous. I think it's always dangerous to put powerful people in charge of the powerless and to give the powerful ones total authority. Pardon me for pointing out the cognitive dissonance, but Super Don, what do Harvard elitists want by banning homeschooling?
So is what she's saying that the parents are the powerful and the children are the powerless?
Authoritarians. The
parents are powerful authoritarians, and it is wrong to put them in control of the powerless children.
Mm-hmm.
That's what she's saying?
Sounds like it. But she's arguing for then who to have that authoritarian role? The state, the United Nations, the World Health Organization, the CDC, Department of Health.
How do you demonize the parents of children? I mean, they're the parents of the children. What? It's hard to wrap your head around that. What is this woman thinking?
Well, she's arguing child abuse of some kind, and she's really a big fan of Child Protective Services. We've covered as Health Impact News for years.
Parents are to be looked at probable child abusers.
Mm-hmm. Or neglectful.
So they're like guilty just by being parents.
By being parents, right. And of course, I would argue sending your kids to government indoctrination centers could be argued in some ways to be forms of abuse or neglect. Because if they teach you all the wrong things, if they teach you to be victims, if they teach you to worship the glory of government and obey government and disobey God, who's abusing who? And so you've got this Harvard elitist actually arguing that parents are authoritarians. We can't let the parents have control over their kids till they're 18. We need to send them to who? To what? To schools where teachers are mandated reporters and can report suspected child abuse. Now, this is not me or you, Super D, defending child abuse, but the reality is the vast, vast, vast majority of parents are not abusing their children. There are anomalies, there are outliers, but if you go into these government indoctrination centers, they will abuse you into collectivism, which is a form of victimization, which disempowers these children to grow up to be dependent upon government or government-appointed authoritarians to run their lives. And I don't know. I know a lot of parents. Super Don, you know a lot of parents. I don't know if their first goal when they have kids is like, I hope my child grows up to be just a really good victim. A really good someone who will obey all authority and all authoritarians. I mean, maybe there are some, but certainly I rebel against that, and I hope that you would too. What else does Bartholet say? Of course, she's kind of ignorant of the fact that the states have shut down all schools pretty much now, and you have a mandatory homeschooling scenario, maybe by Zoom or other methods, and there are parents that are struggling with it. There are parents that are struggling with it that have any number of reasons why it's not going as well as you would hope. As with anything, there's going to be up and down side. And I've said the upside, and I always try to look on that bright side, is that we as families are getting together more with our kids than ever before if they had gone out to school prior. And so we have an ability to talk about things that are going on and question things that are going on. And really, you will have less deprogramming to do, having them home under your authoritarian dictatorial rule. Because you know how it is in my family. My kids don't mouth back to me at all. They don't ask any questions at all. Of course. Why are you laughing? You've seen it happen.
That's funny. Yeah, that's funny. This lady, man, I mean, you talk about something that's dangerous. She wants to talk about parents having control of their children is dangerous.
Yeah.
I think this lady is dangerous. Washington Times wrote up a pretty good article about this person.
Mm-hmm.
And
you want to read that link you just put in, that quote?
You see this quote here? Yeah. Check this out.
Read that. Is that in the article or that came from the Times?
That's in the Washington Times article. Okay. She says, surveys of homeschoolers show that a majority of such families, by some estimates up to 90%, are driven by conservative Christian beliefs and seek to remove their children from mainstream culture. She goes on to say that some of these parents are extreme religious ideologues who question science and promote female subservience and white supremacy. This chick has some issues, man. First off, not only are we demonizing parents in general with some of these things she's saying, now she's going after conservative Christian beliefs.
Yeah.
She's going after anybody who might see some problem with mainstream culture. Because, Robert, there's nothing wrong with mainstream culture.
Oh, not at all. Just accept everything that's going on. Now we got 20 genders. It's perfectly normal. Take a look at this woman's picture. What do you make of it? Just energetically.
Well, listen, she's no spring chicken.
No, but it isn't about that. But
see where I'm going with that is that,
it looks like Ross Perot wearing a wig.
In a dress. Hey, I like Ross Perot.
No, I'm not. It's not a slight against Ross Perot. I'm just saying there's just something that is coming through her energetically that is like, oh man, there's something
wrong. I mean,
to do what she's doing, to argue.
I'd be willing to bet, and the reason why I mentioned her age, I'd say she's probably in her maybe 60s, maybe 70s, something like that.
Yeah.
I'm going to guess that her parents probably came from a generation that probably would be rolling over in their graves right now over her outlook on things. Maybe not. I could be wrong, but
no, you're right. Though thinking about
there used
the
to be
culture
a time where it was like, the parents were in charge. That doesn't mean we're saying it was okay if they beat their children, but we're saying, listen, the parents are in charge. They're the ones that are supposed to guide these children, on a path where that is going to be the best for them, teaching them good things and morals and independent thinking, and not turning that over to things like, school teachers,
right?
And mainstream culture. It doesn't mean that you isolate your kids in some kind of bubble all their lives.
But you think about folks that are raising their kids in a religious household, they're trying to teach them to live with respect.
What's a religious ideologue anyway? I mean, what is that? How do you become a religious ideologue?
You know what? To this woman,
does that look like?
It's probably anybody who is not an atheist. To this woman. I mean, if you believe in God, you're an ideologue in this sense. That's why, again, Harvard. Again, I'm not saying everybody's a atheist there, but there's a lot of people in the high level PhD falutin sciences that have abandoned spirit. We've talked about that, and without that, there's no morality, much less ethics involved. Let's see. She was invited by some Christian conservative groups to speak at their events, so they're not afraid to be interact with her. But apparently she's anathema to religious people. This is amazing. Maybe she lived
that homeschooling is an unregulated regime. Wow, she is like
she knows
putting
nothing
all the buzzwords in there.
She knows nothing of homeschool and how organized it is and how people are committed to real education and real history and discipline in learning, not indoctrination in the same way they perceive it. My wife says she might have been a child of the 60s, or she might have been one of those people in the 60s taking a lot of LSD at this point. I don't know. I wasn't there.
Could be.
I wasn't there. So great article here at Health Impact News to warn you against Harvard pointy-headed liberal elitist trying to tell you that if you're religious, you shouldn't be homeschooling. In fact, you should turn your kids over to authoritarians from the state, the godless state. The collectivist state, the communist state. That's what I feel she's trying to communicate. Now, that would lead to depression, I think. And according to one of the latest articles here we have linked up at Medical Express, more people are on antidepressants and anxiety meds during this pandemic, or what they're calling a pandemic. So because of the heightened anxiety, a lot more people reporting mental health challenges, and they're turning to prescription drugs like benzos, antidepressants, SSRIs, and more. Instead of, where's the article talking about cannabis and kratom and chamomile and other natural substances to chill us out, kava. I haven't seen that article. Are more people turning that? We could argue that more people are turning to that because they're learning about natural medicines, and CBD plays a profound role in helping people deal with anxiety. And if you want to tap into that, our friends at CV Sciences, and you can see the article there in the show notes, have given us opportunity to use a 30% code, RSB 30. Super Don, did they ever send us a banner that said RSB 30? I know it says RSB 15.
No.
Yeah. But
I don't know if that's a permanent thing. I think that may
Okay.
just be a temporary thing. That's probably why.
But yeah, if you use the term RSB 30, right, they have 15% off, but you can get 30 because you're a listener, viewer of the Robert Scott Bell Show, and there's all kinds of ways to get the CBD to get you off of, hopefully. This is just me talking. That's not what they're saying because they're not selling drugs, but you can learn about cannabidiol and other ways to reduce your reliance on things that are very dangerous, these drugs. Now, I will also say one of the memes that our buddy Steve Feld did, I can't find it right now, but it is there a quote here? Let me see if I can pull it up on screen. So he's got here it is. Yeah, I'll bring it up on screen for you right now. I was quoted to have said, I don't remember saying it, but I agree with it. No, we do not need more antidepressants. We need more spirituality. Because most people are depressed due to the fact that they're disconnected from source, the source of all sources. That was supposedly, Steve caught me saying that. He quoted me and made that cartoon graphic meme. And I stand by that statement. And I'm not trying to oversimplify it because some people will get very mad at me when I say something like that. Oh, what do you mean? It's only about spirituality, right? No, it's also about nutrient deficiencies. If you're completely devoid of interaction with sunlight, we know about seasonal affective disorder, a depression resulting in a lack of exposure to sunlight. That's real. I know also about the lack of essential fatty acids and even saturated fats impacting negatively every cell in your body, including the brain and the nervous system. We know also about amino acid deficiencies affecting mood. There are books, Julia Ross wrote The Mood Cure and The Diet Cure, talking about specific nutrient deficiencies manifesting in certain patterns of anxiety and or depression. So we know that if you lack selenium, even though that's not considered antidepressant, but selenium helping the function and the protection of every cell in your body, when you're dysregulated, there are all kinds of sensations you'll feel. One of those things, and I'm going to do a quick homeopathic clip in advance, no planning here, because we don't have a theme song for the homeopathy happy hour that Super Don says. That sounds like what Josh does with his hemp happy hour, so I won't do that. Just threw it out there. You guys can come up with some kind of name if we do a weekly homeopathy segment, which I think we should. I agree. There's a sense right before you're about to succumb to an infection of some kind, whether it be considered flu or a fever of some kind, where you get maybe body aches and chills, maybe subtly, maybe you don't feel it, but maybe you do. But you also have an accompanying sense of dread or fear. You're like, I don't know why. I'm just all of a sudden afraid. I don't understand this emotion. Why am I feeling this way? And that is often a cellular response manifesting in an emotional way. That if you look up certain remedies in the homeopathic Materia Medica, I use the Boricke primarily, Boericke, Boricke, that's a man's name who developed one of the more recent ones in the early 20th century. And you look up certain remedies like Aconitum napellus, aconite or aconitum, which is a great remedy if you have the first sign. You go like, ooh, I got a little chills. I'm like, I could be going down to a place I don't want to go, right? You're going to get a fever. You have had that enough that you know that warning, but what do? Normally you ignore it, you fight through it, pretend it's nothing, or you think it's all in your mind. What am I afraid of? No, it's a real feeling. And so you take a dose of aconite or aconitum, and like suddenly you're like, boom, I didn't even, I normally would follow up and I'd end up in bed and sick with a fever. I didn't. So it's kind of like the first sign of anything. As you indicate, you begin to research that particular remedy. At the first sign, you feel these anxiousness, the fear. And these are emotions. They're very real, but they're manifesting as a physical signal or symptom to say, hey, something's going on. Pay attention. You could be going downhill fast here if you're not careful. And so aconite is one of those remedies in that regard. So for me to say depression is evidence of a lack of spirituality, I still stand by that statement. And I don't mean in a permanent way. There could be a temporary abandonment of spirit. How does this happen? Well, the godless state frightens you so much that you forget to go, hey, God, over here, talk to me. What's going on? Or spirit, however you communicate. I don't mean to say this is the only way to say the words that mean what that means for you. There are a lot of different terms that are used for the same thing. But the disconnect from the source of all sources, like unplugging from a light socket. If you're a lamp, the light goes out. Plug it back in, let the electrical flow, whatever. It's that kind of symbolism that I'm talking about here, but in a very real way, whether it be through prayer, contemplation, meditation, community, communion, in a sense, fellowship, getting together with other people that are enjoying the Spirit, that have it flowing. It's a vitalistic view of life itself. We talk about homeopathy, chiropractic, these vitalistic views that understand there's a life force that flows into us. And when that is diminished, we can feel all sorts of bad, including depression. And so in the midst of the fear of a coronavirus, real or imagined, it can lead you to go, you know what? I got the quick fix. I'm not even aware of all the spirit stuff. Just give me a drug. Make me feel better. And of course, that results in removing you even further from that communication, drugging you out of your reality. You might not like your reality, and that might be the why you choose that path, or you just didn't know. So part of the thing is when you get reconnected to Spirit, it might also give you insight, communication to go, hey, you know that essential fat you've been hearing about? You need some of that. You've been hearing about hemp and CBD? You might want to try some of that, right? You know, we've been telling you about it. I've been whispering, exercise. You need to get out in the sun and exercise. You're like, well, that happened as a result of you doing something spiritual, a spiritual practice, a prayer session, a contemplation, meditative session that suddenly opens you up to, oh, yeah, I've been meaning to do that. The magnesium I was lacking in, I forgot the mega food magnesium. I forgot to take it the last week, and now I'm feeling really bummed out. See how that's all connected? And that's my point in saying depression is evidence of a disconnect from our spiritual source. And I know, again, people will get mad if they don't take that full measure of what I'm trying to communicate when I say that. Oh, yeah, that's all I have to do is pray, and then I don't need antidepressants. It's not what I'm saying. It's a very complex issue, and it can relate to abuse in childhood, in adulthood, abusive relationships. That can be depressing. Those are very real. I'm not denying that. But how do we get out of it? By drugging ourselves or opening up to the possibility of healing, even those old wounds that seem to be unhealable. These are the things I think about when topics like this come up, and that story. And here I was. I didn't even know I wasn't on screen. You were just looking at all of that stuff. Maybe that was okay. The message was being said. I don't know what was going on. But, I guess I am on screen. All right. Thank you for being here. Super D, you got anything to add to that? Just you can be mad at me if you want to, just for fun.
Just for fun?
Just for fun.
I'm so mad at you.
You know what? You should be mad at me for not taking the Copacabana seriously enough.
Dude, what was it? What would that have even looked like?
You're right.
How can you even take it seriously?
You're right. You're so right. That could be the cure for depression.
Those of you who are curious, Frank was actually in the video too.
Frank was in the video, and
Frank
the thing
made
is,
it into the Copacabana.
And Frank was the most serious thing in that video. That if that's saying something to you.
Probably.
So if you need a really good laugh, I will grant you that our Copacabana presentation for Patreon supporters will induce some form of laughter. You may never look at me the same way again. And that's okay. I can live with that because we brought a chuckle where there might have been some fear and angst and anger and anxiety. So laughter is good. Being silly is good. And I certainly occasionally can excel at that. Did I miss anything the first half hour here? No, I think we're good on hour 2. We've got a lot of questions of the day coming up. I can't believe how many are left over.
There you go. Yeah. I love questions of the day. We love doing stuff, answering questions that you guys have. So yeah, I think we'll do that. We've got, I think this first one is from New Zealand, if I'm not mistaken.
New Zealand? Yeah, because they say, hi, mate. We're going to get to that in a moment. Let's take a bottom of the hour break, our first one of the second hour. And I know somebody was complaining about, did you see that thing on YouTube yesterday? Did I forward that to you?
I saw it before you did. Yeah, that was an interesting comment. And they edited their comment. The first comment was kind of, it was crappy.
Snarky and really?
Yeah.
They're like, I can't stand your commercials. You break the commercials. It's like,
listen, it was like a love-hate thing, right? It was like, I really like your show, but I hate your commercials.
And what do? We have an opening bet of a few minutes.
Dude. Well, yeah, let's take the break and address this.
Okay, we'll talk about it on the way back. In the meantime, I'm going to play one for my friends at Synergy Science. I want you protected from 3G, 4G, 5G, 6G. Stand up and holler. Get some key technologies, and we'll be right back.
Today, we live in an omnipresent cloud of charged particles emitted by electronic devices, electromagnetic fields, WLAN, and radio waves. These particles penetrate our bodies and heat the water in our body tissues. Recent scientific studies have shown that this particle flux not only heats the cells in our bodies as if we were in a microwave oven, but damages them as well. At Key Technologies, we want to protect you from the negative effects of such particles, so we have developed the Key Home Cell and other products. The Key Home Cell creates a protective field that works like a filter, intercepting any dangerous particles before they can enter your body. Here we have a partial look at the inner workings of the Key Home Cell. The Key Home Cell generates a charge exchange between the water tubes, thereby discharging free electrons and releasing them into the room. Within 24 hours, the Key Home Cell creates a torus field. The free electrons formed in the torus use their negative charge to bind to the positively charged harmful particles, thereby rendering them harmless to you. The torus field has an effective range of 16.4 feet above and below, and 24.6 feet around the device. The torus field created by the Key Home Cell is transmitted and provides you with protection through the walls of your home. Not only humans and animals are shielded from harmful radiation, but plants and food too. Whether mobile radio waves or WLAN, any particles that come within the torus field can no longer cause any harm to you or your family. The Key Home Cell provides you with all-around protection, allowing you to communicate with absolute peace of mind when using your cell phone or any other electronic devices. The Key Home Cell's free electrons are transmitted into the water through the torus field and repairing the water structure that was destroyed by radiation particles. Water regains its ideal vibrating hexagonal grid structure. The difference is easy to taste and can be proven with laboratory testing. This type of perfect hexagonal water structure is found in fresh spring and healing water and has also been seen in snowflakes. The same effect happens with our food, which also contains water. The Key Home Cell greatly reduces radiation exposure from cell phones, laptops, WLAN transmitters, mobile terminals, and other sources of radiation. The Key Home Cell drastically reduces the thermal stress on your body tissue. It is very fast and very easy. With the Key Home Cell, you will experience a new quality of well-being within your home and more life energy without any unhealthy exposure to radiation.
Questions today coming up, part two, because we did a bunch in the first hour and we got even more. But Super Don, as we were just talking about a comment that came in through the YouTube. Usually, like, people will catch it afterwards and they'll add comments. Different from what you're doing right now for those of you watching live, right, where you have the live chat. It would be interesting to have this guy, whoever he is, in the live chat room.
No, I don't want this guy in the live
because he was like, I love the show, but your commercials, like, dude, we already have.
He cleaned it up because the original one had some expletives in it, and he's complaining about the ads. And here's the thing: he said he says that the ads. I assume it's a he. The name is Abhijina Atman.
Mm-hmm.
And says that the ads contradict the message and make you into a superficial sellout with a lack of discernment. That's a lot in one sentence.
That's a lot. How does promoting food like CBD, food supplements, or key technology breakers from EMFs, or
sellout
immune modulators, or
what a sellout you are, man.
Dude.
And this is the argument that you see this a lot, and this usually comes from people that are really hardcore on stuff, where it's like, if the idea of trying to financially support what it is you're doing makes you that makes you a sellout. If you
I told him
we gotta eat.
Yeah,
we gotta pay our bills. We got.
I responded. You saw I responded. I said, listen, if you want to cover the cost of the show, I'll be glad to insert at the top of the hour and the bottom of the hour lovely music of your choosing.
Look, Robert and I are not rolling around in Rolls Royces and taking yacht trips to Morocco or something. I mean, we do enough that we are able to cover what it is that we need to cover.
And we can eat, thankfully, yes.
And that's fine. And I don't need any more than that, I mean, it's like, it's, it's all good. But,
Anyway.
I mean, and listen, I understand that, if you go and listen to radio or you watch TV, you get bombarded by, just minutes and minutes and minutes and minutes of advertisements. Okay.
Well, we have about what? We have an opening bed with some music and stuff, and we have a bottom of the hour break for a minute to two. And
a couple of minutes of ads,
the vast majority of the hour is us. Whereas in radio and our Sunday show, it's like 48 minutes, if that, 46 minutes for an hour is talk, and the rest is.
And we're not selling you a ShamWow or a dating service or
But if you do want to wear a mask, make it silver. Silverite Global. I got silver infused fabric.
There are some great businesses and companies that are
I've just sold out to silver. I've just sold out to silver. Anyway, so let's go back to questions of the day. That was a fun aside. Hope you all enjoyed it. It's not. Are we complaining loudly? Just a little bit. Not too annoyed. Just observing. Just observations. So let's go back to the website and go into some more questions of the day. First one coming up this hour from tomorrow. I say that because it's already Wednesday in New Zealand, and I'm guessing that's where Lindsay may be. Hi, mate. Is nebulizing 16 to 20 parts per million okay for some? It's micrograms per liter, probably not milligrams per liter, but okay. She's got okay for someone who has previously smoked or does smoke. Thank you, Lindsay. Well, question is, what are you smoking, or what is whoever smoking? That heating up smoke of any kind can create inflammation. And I'm not saying that, what was the thing that gets me in trouble, right? All those years ago, Super Don, when I said, if it were only tobacco, if cigarettes were really just tobacco, organically grown tobacco, we would not have all of these incidences of so-called lung cancers, emphysema, etc., associated, other than the bringing in a heated air could be damaging just in and of itself.
Well, and listen, inhaling any particulate is not going to be. I mean, it would be better if you didn't.
I said
side by side, one is better than the other. Obviously,
relative risk. If you've got pure organic tobacco versus what's called tobacco in a let's say big tobacco cigarette, which has hundreds to thousands of ingredients that become very damaging and dangerous. Short and long term, which are different. Again, so I differentiate between those two. And I'm not endorsing. I was saying if you do it, if it's organic tobacco, it's not with all other garbage, you're not as engaged as a dangerous behavior as other things that may be much more dangerous, including eating chemically grown, processed, produced, glyphosate-infested foods. That I would argue is as dangerous as smoking all of those additives as well. Now, a lot of cigarettes also contain a lot of cadmium. Cadmium will deplete selenium. Selenium is your critical defense against cancer and many other things. So there's explanations for why some of this happens in that regard. But in terms of healing the lungs, if you're a Patreon supporter, Lindsay, you can download our chapter on lung health, Good Loving for Your Lungs, for free from Unlock the Power to Heal. If not, I try to give you some insights into that. No, it's not dangerous to nebulize silver hydrosol in particular because it's a safe, low concentration. I don't know about the quality of the form of silver you're using at the ppm you've indicated, but I have no inclination to say if it's a pure colloidal silver at that level that you would be harming, doing a teaspoon at a time for a nebulizer session. Not getting into your specifics because I don't know more than that about that. But if you are a smoker, lobelia would be a very, very good herb to embrace and ingest in a liquid form. Take a tincture, put it in water, and sip it. It's also in the book there. And there are other homeopathic remedies. So no, in general, mate, Lindsay, I don't have a problem with using colloidal silver, even if you're a smoker or a former smoker. In fact, it'd be helpful, in my opinion. Okay? So let's see. Next question coming from Bonita. Hello, I'm new here. But this might have been one from the new email list from the Get Off Your Sugar
Possibly,
Summit.
yeah, possibly.
She says, I'm new here, but I was just wondering if the products you mentioned in your free chapter, downloaded with gratitude. So she downloaded the Silver Aloe. That's the Good Lovin' for Your, that's the Road to Colostomy Bags is Paved with Antibiotics and Prednisone chapter. Got to remember all the chapters here. And with gratitude are available to Canadians. Are Canadians allowed to listen to the Robert Scott Bell Show? We go.
Yeah, we actually have a few.
We got a lot of Canucks. Got a lot of hosers too. We love them. Don't make me turn my smile upside down with a nope reply, right? Because she wants to know if the stuff that I mentioned in there, is it available in Canada? LOL, but if not, can you direct me to where the quality purity products are sold that ship to the west coast of Canada? Thanks and nice to meet you, in a manner of speaking. That's Bonita. So yes, Bonita, Sovereign Silver is available all over Canada in health food stores and natural pharmacies. Argentin 23 is as well, although Argentin has gone on hiatus temporarily. If you can't get it, it's because they're just trying to desperately catch up with the demand for silver in the era of COVID. But yes, Sovereign Silver is available in Canada. The Stockton Aloe one that I recommend from Dr. Michael Haley, my buddy, he's in Florida, in Pompano Beach. That's likely that they can't ship their raw, fresh, frozen aloe from Florida to Western Canada. So you'll probably have to find some kind of organic, least preserved, pure, clean aloe vera juice that you can get in Canadian health food stores and supermarkets to use in that protocol. So your smile does not have to turn into a frown. You can get Sovereign Silver. You can still get organic aloe in Canada, and you'll be good to go. All right? So thanks for that question, Bonita. Now, let's see. We got another question coming in from Bill. What is this one about? Can you read Bill's? Do you have it there?
Yeah. All right. From Bill. Bill says, hello, RSB and Super Don. I was listening to the Bob Martin show. Hey, Dr. Bob Martin. He's another guy that's been around probably about close to as long as you.
Yeah. He's got longevity in media, and I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
He's a good guy. Yep.
There's not a lot of health talk shows that have been around as long as we have.
I name them on one hand, maybe.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, not really.
Yeah.
I mean, fortunately, Dina Dell quit a long time ago. That was horrible.
Yeah.
Dr. Bob Martin show. He says a caller called and asked about buying a nebulizer. Oh, it's the nebulizer question. Dr. Bob's answer was a good nebulizer would cost between $100 and $200. Ouch. Are there good nebulizers out there that cost less than $100 or $200? Bill. When it comes to nebulizers, look, I mean, are there nebulizers out there that cost $200? Yeah. Are they better quality than the one that you would get for $30?
I'd say so.
Yeah. It's like anything else, I mean, it's you could go out and buy a $50,000 car. Now that car is probably going to be a nicer car than the $19,000 car. Doesn't mean it's not a car. Doesn't mean it won't get you from point A to point B and still do the job. It's just not as expensive, probably not as high quality or something. So yeah, the answer is yes, there are nebulizers out there, and I'm still have had some trouble trying to get connected to one that we can actually promote and endorse. But there's no shortage of these things out there. And this morning, I mean, it's just all you got to do is just go on the internet, go into Google, type in nebulizer, and click and do a little bit of searching. And every time that I do this, I find a different one and I take a look at it. And Robert, I'm going to send you this link. Can you throw this up on the screen real quick?
Sure. Yeah.
I just want to show you guys. I mean, I did a search for nebulizers.
Okay.
And I came across this one. Now this comes from a CPAP supplier.
Right.
They also do nebulizers. And so what I look at is, I look at first to make sure that it is a nebulizer and, that I'm not buying some, thing that looks like one. And then I read the reviews, and the reviews seem pretty legit on this time. Sometimes you can't always rely on reviews because sometimes they're fake.
Yeah.
But I took a look at this one here, read through the reviews. It's got eight different reviews. Most of them are 5-star reviews.
Look at the price on this, $31.99.
$31.99, and when you add the shipping, I checked it out, and for priority shipping to me here in Oregon, it would have cost like $9. So you're looking at
$40,
about $40 or so. You're going to get yourself a decent nebulizer that's going to do the trick. Now, if you want to spend more, you definitely can. Are you going to get something that's probably going to have less plastic involved? Maybe a higher quality, yeah, but. This will get you started at least.
The one I have is Omron, and it's 12 years old at least now, and it still works like the day it was made. So it's a quality one. It probably was, I'm guessing, $150 way back in the day.
Right.
But if you need to get one, it may not last 12 years like mine, But if it needs to get you through a crisis for $40, you almost consider that disposable. Almost.
Exactly.
It's going to last more than a disposable. But the point is, you also need to realize that some of these outlets online will say, do you have a prescription for this thing? And tell them, nope, I'm not using insurance, buying direct, cash, credit card, whatever it is you're going to use. Most of the time they'll go, okay, no problem. But a lot of times they're used to dealing with insurance, and they'll say you need a prescription. In order for insurance to fulfill it, you'll need a prescription. But if you're paying direct, you shouldn't need a prescription. I don't know about Canada, but in the States anyway. So if you try to buy one locally in a store, oftentimes they'll demand that you have a prescription for it. That's why you want to go online to get a nebulizer. So I hope that's helpful to everybody. What are you laughing at?
Some of these comments are killing me. Annie just says, boy, it seems like Super D does all the work and RSB just talks. What?
Isn't that exactly what this is?
She's just teasing. That is so not true.
No, she's pegged us. She knows exactly how this thing works.
It is a team effort. Omron is OMRON. So you got that right, Cheryl.
Is that because I made you read that question? Or because you looked up the nebulizer?
She's just teasing you.
Also, somebody said about the commercial, they said it's probably not the commercial, but the heavy metal that plays after it. I'm like, maybe at the top of the hour, we still got the rock and roll going, right?
And then Debbie here says, love the music you play.
Mm-hmm.
I turn up the volume. Then she says, I do have to say, though, the old man's voice asking if you have any questions segment reminds me of Fauci's raspy voice.
Ooh,
makes me cringe.
That.
What is she talking about?
Excuse me. Can I ask you a few questions? I'd like to ask you a few questions. That way.
Oh.
Yeah.
Let's see. You know who that is?
I forget.
That is Jim Carrey.
Oh, that's Jim Carrey playing
That
what?
is Jim Carrey. If you remember in the first Ace Ventura.
Right.
He bends over and talks with his butt.
That's when he did that. That's right.
Excuse me.
We're not intimating that any of our listeners or viewers ask questions with their butt.
No, you can.
They do occasionally ask questions about their butt, but that's okay. But so somebody doesn't like
you a few questions.
Ace Ventura, Pet Detective. Okay, that's where that came out.
That's right. Anyway, and by the way, I want to say thank you because it's a part when people join Patreon, they get an on-air shout out. Judy, who was saying that she was having some trouble signing up, she just signed up.
Yay, Judy! Hooray.
So she gets to see.
Oh man,
Copacabana.
So anybody seen it? Want to share anything about it? You can't share the link because that's just for special viewing.
There actually were some comments earlier. I'm already logged into Patreon.
I didn't remember. I didn't see any actually. So I don't. Actually, I saw Ula's comment somewhere, but
Ula's.
Yeah.
All right. So if I go over here to the post.
Mm-hmm.
And, by the way, when you log in, it just kind of the most recent thing we have done, it pops up there. But as you scroll down, you get to see all of the live Q&As that we've done, which are like an hour and a half to 2 hours of people asking questions and getting answers. You've got the interviews that we've done with people like Ron Paul and Patty Finn and Andrew Wakefield. You've got the Vaccines Armed and Dangerous seminar. Which is a total, I think, of 10 different episodes. And those are episodes that you recorded with John Rappaport. The history of vaccines and the ingredients of vaccines and detoxing from vaccines, from A to Z, everything vaccines. You did an interview with Mariel Hemingway, which was pretty awesome. Wasn't she no, it wasn't Mariel Hemingway. Who was the one that was your crush?
Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman.
What's her real name? I forget.
You don't remember her from England?
This isn't a guessing game.
Jane Seymour. Come on.
That's what
Get my girlfriend, Jane Seymour.
I'm sorry. There's a whole bunch more there. So anyway, thank you, Judy, for joining. Welcome to
I see the comments now, by the way.
Okay.
Norman says, great way to go. Just what the doctor ordered. That's what I was hoping this would be. Something to lighten the mood in theoretically or actual dark times for people, right? We got to find ways to laugh in the midst of it. So, apparently it wasn't for naught. I was kind of doubting what this would be, but Super Don, you did it. You edited together a really fun impromptu sort of presentation. I had no idea when I started singing. I started practicing and I said to my daughter, Ari, you got to do this with me. I can't do this alone. I just can't. And it's not like she was right front and center, but just having her near me, I felt better. about being goofy and silly. And there are some precious looks that she's giving me while I'm singing. Do you notice when I start altering some words? She's like, oh, that's Dad. Oh, my gosh, that Dad. Really? So that was great. Lori says, well, your daughter is adorable. I will up my Patreon support if you agree to never do that again. That's what I'm talking about. Just kidding, kind of. I love that, Lori. Thank you. Lynn, our friend. Oh, we got to get Lynn Lafferty on. She's brilliant. She's down there, Nova in Nova Southeastern, I think, in Fort Lauderdale, Miami area. She's a pharmacist, and she's a great friend of ours, and was a great friend of Liam Sheff. And I think I mentioned Lynn Lafferty to you. She's been on before, but we want to reach out to Lynn.
You see this comment from Ula here. She says, okay, now we need to work on a Get Off Your Copacabana singing summit. She says, my kids are driving me insane singing it over and over. She says, her name was Karma. And yeah,
that's payback, right? Your kids? Oh, that's too funny.
Basically making that happen. So.
Valerie said, you guys nailed it. Loved it. Wow, you all were great. So glad I'm a patron. That's Karen. Make my heart happy because honestly, I was nervous. I'll be honest. I don't get nervous a lot. I was like, when I started going out, I'm like, I don't know if I can do this, Super Don. I don't think I could do this. But it ended up being really goofy, and it helped that I wore this hat.
Well, before it became reality, this was just a concept, and we were 10 people away from this becoming something we were actually going to do. You were like, oh, no big deal.
Right. Before I got into it, I was like, oh, man.
I'm not worried about this. I'm not going to be nervous. I'll do anything, blah, blah, blah. And then when it actually was just like, okay, now you got to do it, it's kind of like,
yeah, you want to see me absolutely embarrass myself, go become a Patreon. It's worth it, apparently. We're hearing it's worth it. All right, now we do have another question and then one more article to cover before UK Health Radio has to drop. And then we can do the Ministry of Silly Something. I stumbled across an article, this is from Holly, in The Guardian, titled, U.S. was warned of threat from anti-vaxxers in event of pandemic, which included a link to the InfraGard journal about domestic terrorism. This also included an abstract linking the anti-vaxxers movement and national security. I was wondering if you had seen it, if you had any thoughts about it. Curious if you had any thoughts. Now,
we'll cover that tomorrow. Have you actually seen the article?
Not this one, but this fits right in with other things that have preceded it, like the World Health Organization last year declaring one of the top 10 global threats to global health was vaccine hesitancy. So this is more along those lines of transitioning to convert and convince people who do not blindly, obediently, like sheeple, vaccinate their kids or themselves, that they're somehow a threat to you and world peace, as if world peace is even an ideal at the United Nations. It's nonsense. It's garbage that they claim that. It's not real. So that they link people who don't want to vaccinate to domestic terrorism. Well, they link conservative Christians as potential domestic terrorists.
Goes back to the fusion centers that were created after 9/11.
They link former military people who believe in the Second Amendment as potential. They believe in the Constitution. They cite the Declaration of Independence. You're a potential domestic terrorist. This is what our founders warned us.
You could be a domestic terrorist.
Right. Yeah. Finally, we do have one more mask story, a global mask shortage, interestingly enough. Now, I've talked about the only mask I would endorse wearing are infused with silver from our friends at Silverite. Lisa Hill, we'll get her back on. Silverite Global. They're shipping out. I got 2 of them already. We're going to get 2 more. I'm not endorsing everybody needs to wear a mask. I think it's stupid in most cases, not all, but it's not going to protect you because it doesn't cover your eyes. But for the wearer, I'm concerned about masks that will contain the things you're breathing out, the alteration of it, other things combined to it, then you breathe it back in. You could be infecting yourself. Even though you started healthy, a mask can make you sick. If it's coated with silver, if it's infused with silver, you're going to be protected. Silverite Global, RSB 20 is the discount when you order those masks. But this says a global mask shortage, where I agree you need masks. You need more than that, a whole hazmat suit, may leave farmers and farm workers exposed to toxic pesticides. Now, the irony of this picture in this article, it looks more like an organic farmer dumping water on his crops. He's barefoot in some third world area because it's kind of a low tech. I've got 2 water pitcher spouts slung over my shoulder with a stick of some kind. So this is probably not the farmer that's in trouble or would be in trouble. But seriously, if you want to wear a mask to protect yourself, wear it to protect yourself from toxic poisons coming from the likes of Monsanto now. Who bought Monsanto? Bayer, right?
Yep.
Makers of Monsanto, Roundup, etc. These toxic pesticides are really the issue. You want to strain what you breathe in because those chemicals are very damaging, and they're arguable, they're measurable, they are actually harmful, and they could give rise to exosome or virus activity because they dysregulate your cells by disrupting and displacing the minerals like selenium to protect you. And so because everybody's wearing masks for stupid reasons, not real reasons, it may make more dangerous the farmer who sprays toxic pesticides. But then again, that farmer is engaging in what I believe to be anti-farming practices in reality when we're talking about healthy food. But you know my position about organic versus synthetic and chemically grown. So with that, Super D, let's drop off for a few minutes.
Yep.
Pardon the... Maybe there's a commercial in here too, but y'all are going to have to ride it out.
We're all nervous about it.
And then we'll be coming back with some bonus time. So if you have questions or comments we haven't gotten to, this is your time. And we'll be back with that. Check it out, robertscottbell.com. Sign up for email alerts, and we'll give away some homeopathy tomorrow, most likely. And hopefully we'll have Ty Bollinger on to give us the update on the truth about vaccines as we get closer and closer to the bonus episodes that were never before released. They're absolutely new. Truth about vaccines linked up in the show notes at robertscottbell.com, where the power to heal is yours.
The Robert Scott Bell Show. The Robert Scott Bell Show.
Check out a sweet offer that my friends at Better Way Health give. This is an immune boosting supplement that you can't get anywhere else.
Beta-glucan activates and enhances your immune response to invaders.
These things are brilliant for modulating the immune system.
Someone has a need for help in supporting their immune system, I'm looking at the glucan product.
It's amazing, and there's been an enormous amount of research done on this.
It's the most studied immunomodulator on Earth, with over 14,000 published studies referencing beta-glucan, and it's currently being tested in roughly 100 clinical trials.
If you like your dietary supplements with validated science, there's nothing that has more behind it than the beta-1 3D glucan from Better Way Health.
Probably the most heavily researched substances that I'm aware of that modulates the immune system.
It rebuilds your immune system.
Consistency and quality are everything.
Here, you want to see my supplement drawer? Here it is. Get ready.
I was putting together my research and I tripped on this supplement called beta-glucan.
There it is. It's very small. I take beta-glucans, immune booster.
You don't have to worry that you're overstimulating the immune system. We have been just amazed.
I take like 2 a day from Better Way Health.
It's been tested against about 36 other immune-boosting products and found to be superior.
If you have an immune system or you want one, beta-1 3D glucan, that transfer point is very unique. It's going to get the results that you're looking for. I support it and I use it.
Better Way Health, I got to tell you, you can spend more time, you can spend more money, but you cannot give better service than you're going to get from those guys down there. They are truly 24 karat.
The brand you want to get is called Transfer Point Beta-1 3D Glucan, and you can get it from betterwayhealth.com. Let's spread the message about beta-glucans. It's a powerful substance from nature that can help you.
All right, y'all. Let's do some more. Let's do some bonus time. I was just noticing on Ula's page on Facebook, our friend Ula Superdon, once again, strikes again. It's her own fault that her kids are singing Copa Banana, apparently. If you look on her page, here's what, I don't know if you saw this, Super D, but she has a big screen, flat screen TV, and you and I are on it, doing the show, and they watch the show, and so she's probably watching the special Patreon support edition after hours of us singing that song. So no wonder why she's got the earworms going with the kids there. Not a lot I can do about that. Looks like Super Don froze up. So there he is. Oh, he's back. So anyway, do you see that image up there on the screen from Ula's page? Yeah, you're on. He can't hear me, apparently. I can hear him.
No, hold on.
Okay. See what's going on. Oh, he's gone. He'll be back momentarily. So let me see if there's anything I can see. Oh, there he is. He's back.
Sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
I turned off the air conditioner and it blew out the
blew out the whole shebang, so to speak.
Oh yeah, I got to change that. I've got the air conditioner is plugged into the same power strip that the computer is, and when I shut it off and shut it off once in a while, it causes a little bit of a surge in it. Like, so I gotta reconfigure that when I'm not on the air.
Ah, gotcha.
Anyway.
All right. Well, I was just showing a picture of Ula watching with her kids the show on her big screen TV. And it's like explaining why her kids are singing Copacabana because they were watching us. And what else are you going to do if you're a kid? Because we're a couple of cartoon characters. It's perfect for kids. Unless we do a late night show about UFOs and Bigfoot and cuss words, which we're not.
Nope.
But do a lot of people want me to do a weekly homeopathy segment?
Yeah.
Or I don't know, do they?
We could do that. We could do that. Yeah. We've done that sort of. Well, I don't think we've done a homeopathy segment, but in the past, there were times we tried out different things. Do you remember when we used to do the hometown healer segment?
Yeah, I still would love to do that, but you know, we don't get a lot of hometown healer stories. You know, those people that have become living examples of healing and have helped others to do the same or better.
There's a lot,
and
yeah.
So,
I mean, but they're out there. They're out there, so we could do something like that too. But yeah, I think a homeopathy segment would be easy to do.
Yeah, our cruise director says yes, do homeopathy segments. So and it's hard to argue against that.
All right.
So, Mom, you got to be dancing in front of your TV or radio or something. Play music so you can get your exercise. It's not enough just to walk up and down the neighborhood, which is fine, but your dancing really gets you going. So find a way to dance in your home or something. I don't know if they have Zoom dances or not, but that would be good.
Kind of hard to dance with somebody over Zoom. But.
Maybe try on Thursdays. I was thinking Fridays, but because you know we've kind of set the pattern of homeopathy on Fridays over the years of doing the show. We were doing Healing Revolution, which we should be doing Friday with Dr. King. But, you know, we could do, like, since it's only 1 week doing it with Dr. King, we could do the other 3 to 4 Fridays of the month and do a homeopathy segment to get into the weekend. I think that's not a bad idea. That's what's my sense of it, the rhythm of it. It could change, but that's where I'm going. So what else we got coming through the other platforms, whether it be Facebook Live or Twitch or Periscope that you can see that I can't?
We got people talking to each other.
Did y'all find it as boring and annoying when I opened the show talking about international treaties again? I risk losing you when I do that, but I want you to understand that we're tilting at windmills if we think voting people in and out is really the difference maker. I grant you there are differences between a Clinton and a Trump. I'm not saying there's, but in the big scheme of things, when you're going wholesale to where things start, it's the difference between allopathic medicine, managing symptoms differently, and going to the heart of what caused the cancer or whatever it is. And if it's excising it because it's threatening the patient, or if it's altering and removing the offending element and transitioning over time. It's different than just managing symptoms, is my point, politically. When you go to the treaties and start disconnecting from the treaties that corrupted us to make us live without an actual U.S. Constitution. One that's just in name only right now.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Yes.
Ula's easy. She likes everything I do. That's not a challenge. Is Steve with us? Where's Steve Feld? Somebody.
I haven't seen him.
I haven't seen Steve in a while. I want to check in on him. Hopefully, he and his wife are doing well.
Minnie Nikki says, "What happened to Here I Come to Save the Day?" You know what she's talking about?
Here I come to save the day. Which
Minnie Nikki obviously has. Minnie Nikki has been listening for a while.
Some of the radio elements, right?
Yeah, when we used to be on the radio exclusively, when it wasn't a video thing, there were things that we used just because they lent themselves to a talk radio format, right? On the radio.
Right.
That doesn't translate into video.
Okay. I was thinking because, your setup is evolving there, thanks to our Patreon supporters, that we will have the ability that you could play many fun clips like that we used to do on radio. And once in a while, just whether it's a nostalgic thing or just for effect to see if it works, I don't mind. I mean, those were fun elements if we can do them still and not get banned.
I'm looking right now because I know I've got a folder here of the old imaging that we used to use.
Black Knight says, RSB is the only man who can cure diabetes, explain the Constitution and inflation in one sentence, and it will make sense. Well, if it makes sense, that's great. That's the bottom line. Whatever I want it to kind of land and go, oh yeah, that kind of makes sense, right? That's what I'm going for. So thank you, Black Knight, for that. A little bit of supportful acknowledgement. I appreciate that.
I'm getting a call from Ohio, and I think I know who this is.
Yeah, Annie, like how to use the Materia Medica, right? Oh man, that's a bear. I will endeavor to attempt to go to some of it. There's some of it modalities. It'll just confuse everybody, and it's not necessary to learn homeopathy. But there are things that we can do together once I get into that. So, somebody calling you? You said
it was a call from Ohio, and obviously I can't take it at the moment, but I believe this would be
Michelle or Dr. Ravi.
No, you remember they had a protest in Ohio just a short time ago, a few days ago, and at this protest, there was a 16-year-old boy named Dakota Sawyer that spoke at the event.
Oh, right. This is 16. Can we get him on to the show?
Yeah, in fact, that's probably why he was calling. And I'm I'm going to assume that's him. So we'll see if we can get him on. Really dynamic, well-spoken guy, and apparently he's also like a co-host on a local radio show there.
Man, that sounds great.
And so, yeah, I'm going to see if we can get him on. Some of you that may have watched the Ohio protest may know who I'm talking about. So,
Ula says it's about the extended warranty.
On what?
I don't know. What did you get from Ohio?
On the banana that you used in the Copacabana video?
It was still ripening.
Yes.
Don't fall for the banana in the Copacabana anymore, right? What else is going on? We ground up the beets. Right? We did some beets in the freeze dryer, raw, cut them down, and drive them up. And then the freeze dried beets, turned them into a powder. So now I've added that into my morning shaky cup, where I put the living fuel in it. I put some, other cool stuff in it. And also now the beet powder. So we're going to see if I react like I did when I was a kid. When I had beets when I was a kid, my elbows exploded, my ear, whatever. So we'll see if I have the same reaction. So far, so good.
All right, I found the folder I'm looking for. I don't think I've got the Here I Come to Save the Day.
Was that embedded into the opening, or was it
the end of a segment?
And
you
got to have some of those that you could play for old time's sake.
Well, here's what we used. This was on Mondays. Because it was the beginning of the the work week. I would do a Monday open. I honestly, I'll be honest with you, I don't really remember 100% what these sound like.
Right.
But let's just.
I guess before you were a grandpa,
It was, and but the idea was I was trying to give the show just kind of like a weekday talk radio, because it was a Sunday show. It was like 3 hours every Sunday when I got started with it.
Yep.
And it was like I had all this experience working with these weekday every day shows with this high production value and all this stuff, and I was like, you know what, why can't this show have that too? And so I tried putting this stuff together. So this is called the Monday Open, and so I guess let's see what this sounded like here.
Okay. That's what I was doing to everybody.
Morning show.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
Monday. Just another manic Monday. Hello, campers. Remember, Monday is Malaria Day. That's why it's time to take that big orange pill and get ready for the Ho Chi Minh two-step.
So that was the beginning of the show on Monday morning.
Wow, yeah, that was stuff, man. Were we gonna get banned for that? I don't know, but good memories.
I don't know. I didn't even think about that, but
yeah, we're living dangerous.
All right, here's one more here. Tuesday. This was I put together 5 different what I called stagers, and this was something that you would play at the beginning. At the bottom of the hour before we came in from the break on that. This would be something just to kind of do a break in between things here. This is bottom of the hour stager number 1.
We interrupt our program to bring you a special broadcast.
Robert.
He is tenacious, isn't he?
Scott.
He's a brave and a decent man. He's a pioneer.
Bell.
This message must be read in every newspaper, heard on every radio, seen on every television.
The Robert Scott Bell Show.
I mean, those could still be used. I don't think we'd get banned for that. That kind of...
Honestly, I don't know. But the thing is like, what do you do when people are watching and they're only hearing something like that?
Well, remember, Jerry Doyle had a video feed of his show, right?
Yeah, but see, with his though, it was a radio show first, and then you got to see kind of like the broadcast from just like a studio cam type thing. It wasn't like directed to the viewer. It was just kind of like, here's a radio show and you get to see what's going on during the radio.
Look, we could do that too. Anyway, I don't know. Anyway, just nice trip down memory lane. That's just, how Super Don got his super name, because he was amazing at producing these things that were just so much fun, and no other weekend show really had it, much less a health show. And then, of course, we utilized it going into the weekday format. Now in video, there's just so much we haven't used from the past that, you can go back, and they're probably archives somewhere on the web from way back when. We do have a question from Yahweh from Forever. How do I heal a fistula connection from colon to bladder? I have Crohn's disease. Well, that's a connective tissue weakness. So the key mineral is silica or silicon. Well, we get it from Alta, ALTA, and you can get it from choosetobehealthy.com. Use the code RSB5 on checkout. 3 tablets 4 times a day to really rebuild the main silicon stores for connective tissue re-establishment. All right, that's from a mineral perspective. At least, well, in this case, maybe a month before you start tapering down to more maintenance dose levels. And silver locally, because silver is the great accelerator of tissue healing. Yes, aloe plays a role too, but silver is, if you can deliver right to the area. You mentioned colorectal region, I think. I'm reading colon to bladder. So utilizing the silver locally can help accelerate regrowth of healthy tissue, to heal tissue. That's why you put it on a burn, same thing, doesn't matter. But applying it locally, taking enough of the silicon to repair connective tissue. There are homeopathic remedies beyond that, more comprehensive injury type formulas that you can use as well. Silicea is, of course, silica in homeopathic form. So let's see. You guys can dancercise while the music is playing. So we've got, you saw me dancing, perhaps. I don't know if you want to see me dancing more. It really is like, don't do that singing anymore, Robert. That's why I said the power to sing is not mine, with one exception, like I said. But that's all. What else we got? Any more questions or comments before we wrap it up? Did we not get to? I think we got to every story that we planned to today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I believe we did.
I hope we have Ty on tomorrow to do Truth About Vaccines update. I know they're.
We will actually. Yeah, I chatted with him briefly today. He will be with us tomorrow.
Excellent. Anyway, y'all check it out. Now that everybody wants to see us sing Copacabana, we should have 1,000 more Patreon supporters, at least temporarily, until they realize, oh man, I was a mistake. The kids are now singing it and all of that. And let's see, any hopes for old opening with guitar and drums? The old opening with, you're talking radio opening?
Guitar and drums.
What was the old radio opening? Because I don't know, did we ever have guitar and drums in the opening of this?
That's so generic, I don't know what that means. I mean, pretty much all the music that I picked had guitar and drums.
Yeah, we used mostly rock and metal in the past, but now evidently everybody's getting old, so they want us to hear like my mom's dance music.
the old school Robert Scott Bell.
Yeah.
Still here. And listen, we had so much more flexibility when it came to music and stuff like that when we were doing radio, because
you're covered under copyright protection with the
music licensing
radio.
wasn't an issue.
Right.
And even back then, years ago before Natural News, he says.
Okay. So that was our radio side, right?
I've still got all that stuff. Yeah. You wouldn't believe how many gigabytes of stuff I've accumulated over 15 years. But yeah, so even back then, YouTube was not the Nazi regime that it is now.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, you could play stuff on there. But now, you know, just like those couple of things I just played,
mm-hmm.
there's a really good chance that we're going to get some kind of a thing from them. Maybe not like really having an impact on you know, our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
But it'd probably be like, hey, now, you know, you played a track from a thing from some stuff, and we're now going to add some commercials to your
Even
video.
if it was only a few seconds. It's crazy.
Yeah. They've gotten really hardcore about that. So Black Knight, you have to give me a little more info on that. If you want me to try and dig something up, I can try and find what you're talking about.
Right. Our next AMA is what? Did you say the 18th of May or 20th of May? I couldn't remember what you said.
18th, I believe.
18th on Monday, 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific. So if you want to chime in. But remember, anytime you join up, become a patron supporter, you can access the previous AMAs as well.
Mm-hmm.
And all the other stuff, including the forthcoming, when he can get to it, no rush, because it's there, it's gold, is my interview with Nobel Prize winner Luc Montagnier. Never aired anywhere.
Hold on here.
That's going to be super valuable.
I'm going to do something here just because I want to make sure.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be here.
Silver in my throat here.
And here.
I think I can feel it just from walking
RSB
outside
Show.
today. Whatever they were spewing over, it was everywhere on the sky. Black Knight remembers when we did the reggae, the health world, and everything. That's like I said, we were crazy.
You know, but you know, again, that's one of those things. I
Where
mean,
if we did it today, we would get banned.
Well, maybe not, because the thing is that video exists, and so if you go to, let me see where it's at. It's one of our oldest videos on YouTube. And I can't remember if it's on the official YouTube page or if it's on the one that I've got. But I put a video together for that had clips from, you know, these people doing these different things. And the story behind that is we had a caller, or maybe it was somebody that wrote in. I think it was somebody that wrote into the website. And they were like, you know, it's really irritating that you're constantly saying rock in the health world.
Yeah.
And
rock in
like,
the health world. Rock in the health world.
We're like, really? That really bothers you? And so we were like, well, you know, maybe we should try something different. So instead of rock in the health world, let's try some other things. And so you tried to reggae the health world, and you yodeled the health world.
Before Ula, we polka'd.
And you polka'd the health world. And we even rapped the health world. And after trying all those different things, we were like, you know, it's just not the same as rock in the health world.
Yeah, it didn't
and
work.
So it's kind of a fun video that we put together.
And now we're doing like Grandma Mickey dance music, and everybody seems to enjoy it, with few exceptions. So,
a bunch of people don't like rock music.
Yeah, well, YouTube doesn't like it when we do certain rock music, but try to get it going. All right, y'all. You know what? I love so much everybody helping everybody. Which did you find? Not that one you were just talking about.
I just found that video. It's still up on there.
It's still up. Okay.
And let me see if it's got any. You know what? I think it's because it's so old. This is from 2014. That for whatever reason they haven't gotten around to.
All right. Well, let's not play it. If anyone
I'm not going to play it. But you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop the link in here. If people want to watch it, they can.
Yeah, it was embarrassing long before we did Copacabana.
Okay. Anyway.
Yeah. All right, Ula, you can polka the health world. We're out of here. Say hi to the kids. Appreciate y'all. And tomorrow, again, we could go Truth About Vaccines and more. We're trying to get, there was some hashtag bring back David Avocado Wolf. I reached out to him. He's up for coming back on, maybe even next week. We got Michael Bolden from the 10th Amendment Center coming on next week. Some people are hashtag bring back Marlin. So we'll have to reach out to our buddy from Detroit with Motor City Health And so I love that you guys are, drawn to our cast of characters, if I can call it that. We're the characters, and then we have our guests that are not me. I don't know. But anyway, great people. So we'll continue doing that. By the way, there is that Health Freedom thing summit. And I'm like, who didn't invite me? I'm like, the voice of health, freedom, and healing liberty. It's like, don't invite Robert to that. I don't understand who's putting that on, even to this day. That was kind of weird. So
Yes.
Anyway, got nothing more to say about that. I don't know anything about it. And with that, let's sign off, shall we? And be back tomorrow in less than 22 hours.
Sounds good. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow.
All right. Thanks, y'all.